Woo! Woo!
ESPN just put up a graphic that said rematch in Burrowhead Stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on the radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. What's happening? It is Friday. Good to have you on a Friday morning edition of the Rob Brown Show. I am, of course, and obviously, Rob Brown. Directly on the other side of the metaphorical glass from me this AM is Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the Sultan of Swag, the Wizard of Wave, the conductor of the Symphony of Sound that is the Rob Brown Show. He is the great one. Lonzo is here as well. What up, Zoe?
How y'all doing, y'all? I'm so happy to be here. I might get my get fiddle and pick out a wonderful tune for y'all.
A wonderful tune for y'all.
By the way, you're welcome.
For?
Oh, that was they're all thanking me for being on the air, and I'm just saying you're welcome.
Fair enough. You know, it's the humility of the great one that makes us love him so
I
much.
bequeath to you the gift of me.
And you're all better off for it.
They know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a show we have lined up for you today. I've got a lot of stuff to get into. Now, the Carolina Panthers have a new head coach. We'll be coming to that in mere moments from right now.
Controversial.
Yeah, kind of.
Not really.
That depends on who you ask. We'll get into that coming up in a few minutes. In fact, coming up in about 35 minutes, we are going to double dip, and Rashad Beard will be joining us once again. He was with us yesterday. He told us sources told him that Frank Reich was the guy.
No. His sources had sources. Let's get this right. That's right. He went to the double source.
He said that his sources have sources that told him that Frank Reich was going to
So who gets the credit for that? Do you get the credit for having sources who have sources? Do the sources get the credit, or the sources do they get the credit?
So your sources get the credit, even if you refer to the sources squared. But again, as a journalist, the further you go down the sources hole, the more risk you are taking, because the more sources you have, the more the telephone game impact comes into play, and you never know how that information gets distorted, which is why when I do mentoring for young people trying to break into this industry, I tell them, be very careful if you're using sources. Be triple careful if you're using more than one source from a source of a source of a source. But
my friends, never use Vinny in the Alley as your source.
All of that being said, sources say that Rashad's sources were correct. And we're going to get into that.
Rashad nailed it. You know, unlike other people who have sources, Rashad's sources are reliable.
So we will talk with Rashad coming up in a little while. We're going to double dip with the host of the Panther Nation podcast to talk about the hiring of Frank Reich. We will get into the Frank Reich discussion ourselves coming up in just a few minutes. Later on in the show, there has been a massive drop-off in the number of younger players, third-year eligible players, who have entered the NFL draft this year. In fact, for the first time in a long time, there were under 100 of them.
Because they already making money.
Maybe so. We're going to talk about the impacts, the cause of that number dropping the way that number has dropped later in the show. We will have one segment and one segment only where we are talking Team US soccer, because if you have not been following, there is quite a bit of drama going on in US soccer.
We need that music thing that goes dun dun dun. What is that? What's that called? It's not fanfare. I don't know what that's called.
I don't either, actually. We all know what you're talking about.
But it's got to have a name, doesn't it?
It is the dramatic chipmunk sound.
I think it came before. I think it came back in the old days of radio where There was no TV
Oh,
and there was this radio?
For
Yeah.
sure. I have no idea what it's called. But we will play that sound and talk about that drama later on in the show.
By the way, real quick, 71307 or on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, which we are live on right now, you could jump on and tell us what that dun 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 thing is called.
If you know, be the smartest guy in the room today.
When we ask a question, someone out there almost always knows.
Almost. So if you know that, let us know because we're curious. But we will potentially play that sound and talk U.S. soccer drama later on. The NFL awards finalists are out. Lonzo and I will break down the guys that we like, the guys that we don't, to win different awards, maybe even potentially give you the opportunity to win a little cash money and some light sports wagering, if you like, on those awards. We'll get to that. In the final hour of the show, we talked quite a bit about it yesterday on Fight Club with Lonzo, but we may take one final look at this weekend's WWE Royal Rumble. We will obviously spend quite a bit of time breaking down this weekend's AFC and NFC championship games. All of those things are coming up, but before we do that, and while it is unrelated to what we talked about off the air before we came on the air, Lonzo, I do have an apology to issue you. Now, before I issue that apology, I'm going to replay a bit of audio from yesterday, okay? I'm going to replay a bit of audio from yesterday in case you happen to be one of the 7 people in the upstate that weren't listening to the show yesterday. Duquesne basketball was hosting Loyola Chicago 2 nights ago, and they had to call a stop, an official's timeout to the game. Why did they have to call an official's timeout to the game? This is from the Duquesne Basketball Radio Network, where they break down exactly what happened to cause the officials to put a stop to the game.
That guy's voice kills me. You know, Tim, I don't know. Why is there no Uber Eats guy out there? I don't know. Can someone tell me why? I don't know.
My favorite part was when they recognized the Uber Eats sticker and both of them popped off like Stone Cold just entered the Royal Rumble. It is! Hey, by God, that's the Uber Eats guy's music! Incredible moment. Well, despite the genuine shock from the 2 young men calling the Duquesne Loyola Chicago basketball game, despite the shock from that, Lonzo said that he believed that the Uber Eats guy hitting the floor was a work. Said it's got to be a work. There's no way this really happened. That some clown shoes Uber Eats driver was like, oh, you just walk out on the floor during the game, right? Well, according to Duquesne University officials, they now believe that it was indeed a prank. That it was indeed a prank. According to Duquesne, they put out a statement that said, quote, We strive to provide a safe and enjoyable environment for guests and participants at all events on our campus. We also rely on common courtesy and the civility of those in attendance to adhere to the guidelines that are in place. This was a prank planned in advance, done for internet exposure. We determined that the individual was wearing a microphone while someone filmed him as he walked onto the court during active play. While the incident may have seemed funny at the time and no harm was done, we are mindful that incidents like this can put players and officials at risk. The university has reviewed its safety protocols and tightened its security measures to ensure conditions for our players and fans are safe and meet the standards for the highest level of competition in college basketball, end quote. Immediately after the game, Assistant Athletic Director of Loyola Chicago, Austin Hansen, said that he believed it was part of a social media stunt and that the delivery person was, quote, wearing a microphone and a number of students were filming him with their phones. So Lonzo out the gate said, it's a prank, dog. It's a prank. It's a work. Somebody set this up to try to get some social media clout, and it turns out that he is probably correct, according to Duquesne.
Daggum YouTubers. What's the world coming to?
I'll tell you right now, kids.
And never yell world star.
As somebody who is actively trying to get famous on the internet talking sports, as somebody who has been putting a ton of effort into learning video editing, learning how to create content for YouTube, for Instagram, for Reels, for Shorts, whatever you want to call them, as somebody trying to pump myself up, pump it up on the digital channels, ladies and gentlemen, social media influencers are the worst. Just the worst. Because they will ruin your fun. They will ruin your enjoyment. They will ruin your atmosphere for a couple 100,000 views on the interwebs. And the problem isn't that they will do that. The problem is that they will do that. They will then deceptively edit their video down so that you can't tell that they are doing that. And then large companies will give them mucho dinero in order to do that. And you end up with situations like this, where you get a fake Uber Eats guy rolling out onto a basketball floor, interrupting a game that at least 5,000 to 7,000 people were enjoying, stopping that game that 5,000 to 7,000 people were enjoying so that he could have a 3-minute LOL, isn't this hilarious Instagram reel go viral. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see this video on the internet in the next handful of days, please block it, report it, move on from it. Because if you guys being social media influencers, if you social media influencers would like to go out there and act like clowns and take selfies on the side of cliffs that you might fall off of, etc., for whatever reason, that's fine. Live your life. I'm not here to judge. A lot of people don't like the way I do my show. That's okay. Gonna do it anyway. It is what it is. Don't ruin other people's good times for it. Don't stop a basketball game, and a good one, by the way, that 4,000 or 5,000 people are sitting down to enjoy and watch with their friends and family and coworkers and fellow students, etc., in order to create a 30 to 45 second ha influencer clip. Kevin said, Rob, you're just jealous. You didn't come up with the idea. Kevin, I know you don't know me super well. And I don't know how much of this you know. You do understand that I currently actively get paid to go to games and go out onto the ice or out onto the floor to entertain people, right? No, I don't need to make YouTube clips out of it. Don't need it, don't want it. I'm good. All right. Let's take a break. On time. My goodness, what is happening to the world today? It's Friday. We get weird. Let's take a break. When we come down here in just a moment from right now, the Carolina Panthers yesterday, minutes after we went off of the freaking air, decided to announce the name of their next head coach.
Apologies for him hitting the mic like that. You don't have a flat tire or anything like that. It was passion.
Carolina
we go passion.
Panthers.
Dude, you
Panthers.
You smacked the microphone when you grabbed the stand. You did it. Stop doing that.
Carolina Panthers announced their new head coach literally minutes after we went off of the air yesterday. So we will talk to you less about the breaking news and more about our thoughts on it when we come back. Then after that, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast will join us to do the same. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Fan Upstate. Okay, that sign doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
In the way.
So the only solution I can think of is turn the TV off and put it where the TV is.
Where the TV is, yeah. Which honestly, the TV is not really doing a lot for us.
It's not, but we had to have something on there. Yeah. So. But
hey, everybody, look at our new big sign.
It's got to be, you got to go left corner. You got to go that corner, though, I think, because you got to remember, I would go all the way to the edge of the TV. Yeah, but you're going to, okay, but yeah, I do see what you're saying. All right.
It's over my shoulder.
It's going to be a matter of you sit down and see. Yeah, it's going to be a matter of, I'm trying to figure out, dude, you're not going to do it. So, I mean, it's trying to figure out the best way where the entire code can get in.
Normally sit right here.
Yeah, you're going to block part of the code. So I'm curious, with your shoulder in the way, will it still work?
I think it's okay if every now and then as long because like every now and
well,
then.
someone needs to try it. Someone watching right now, get in your normal position where the shoulder is going to be in the way, because it will be.
Yeah.
Your shoulder's going to be in the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching right now, let us know. Go full screen and let us know if your phone works on that QR code. I don't know why I'm telling y'all to do that. Like I can't just do it myself.
Yeah, but you're going to be moving your arm in a way. See, but now you're moving out of the way.
It's too blurry anyway. It's too blurry back there. It's got to be moved up closer.
I don't know. It doesn't look blurry on my screen. You look like an usher right now.
See, now there's a Fan Upstate logo directly under the Fan Upstate logo on the corner of the screen.
2 fans. Double fans. Yeah, but see, you're not going to do the whole show doing this, because this is what you're kind of doing. You're kind of moving your shoulder.
It works right there.
Lad says it worked.
Yeah.
If you see how you've been in there where Tara has how hers are set up, it's just a matter of, are you willing to work? You know what it looks like?
All my cool stuff on the wall.
You know what it looks like? It looks like it's just another part of the screen. It doesn't look like it's actually a banner. So. Yeah, we know we're doing this live. Thank you, Steven. So people are trying it and it's working.
Okay, right there. I think that's going to be the spot. Now the question is.
No, it needs to go to the right a little bit more. Just a little. There you go. Yeah, because the corner don't all the corner pieces have to. It's on there now, but it wasn't earlier. The corners weren't on there.
And now I haven't given myself enough time to go to the bathroom. I have given myself no time at all.
If you want, I mean, I can go.
Nah,
and you can...
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. The Greg Alonzo's on the other side of the glass. This AM, if you'd like to be a part of the program, 844-FAN phone, 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. You can also shoot us a text on the text line at 71307. 71307 is the number. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, if you'd like to come at us in that direction. We'll read them on the air. I am going to get to the Frank Reich story here in just a moment from right now. But sometimes you guys send me a text that I have to address immediately because it it just gets weird on the text line. A texter just sent this message, Lonzo. Rob, Clemson basketball player Brevin Galloway said he is out for a few games due to an injury. Now, the texter did include what Brevin Galloway described his injury as. And I think it's important that we have this conversation. Now, the Frank Reich thing is very important, but I think that this is very important as well. Okay? On his Instagram last night, and I did not see this, and more importantly, none of you sent this to me last night. None of you. One of you sends this to me. I have this audio.
Well, it's because this isn't the Clemson show.
That's fine. You still should have sent this to me. This could have happened to any basketball player in America, and it becomes a top 5 story on the show this week. Here's the story, Lonzo. Brevin Galloway, Clemson guard, last night sent out an Instagram post, a video of himself in a hospital bed. And in the video, he appeared to be still under the influence of anesthesia or medication. This is according to Sports Illustrated. And yes, I will be finding this video and audio for us. Why? First off, because I need to listen to it to make sure it's good.
Or has some things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Second off, because Brevin Galloway explained his injury, Lonzo, and he explained his injury by saying that his testicles exploded.
Yo, man, so we're having a good Friday. I mean, on the air, having a blast, just hanging out with our guys and everybody else who hangs out. And you gotta talk about why you gotta do that.
Brevin Galloway said that
everybody's squirming right now.
Brevin Galloway said that he was going to miss some time because his testicles exploded, end quote. Now, he did go on to say, and again, audio that I 100% will be going to find during the break and upload for us. Galloway said, now, I go to the doctor, I have surgery, 3 hours later, my balls are reduced to a normal size. It's a medical issue for a Clemson basketball player.
No, I get that you're quoting. Okay, I get that you're quoting. The testicle part is fine because it's anatomical. Yeah, but when you use another word, then we get in territory that's iffy.
I say stones all the time.
Different.
I say rocks all the time.
Also different.
But the B word is where we draw a line?
I think that's where things get iffy. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The story continues, though, I'm sure.
That's pretty much it.
Oh, that was it?
That's pretty much it.
So
Brevin Galloway posted a video saying he's going to miss some time because his testicles exploded.
So do we have video where someone in a Steph Curry kind of rage threw the basketball and it nearly cost someone their groin? I think we have that.
He almost lost a groin. Dr. Zoe with the prognosis.
More proof it can happen.
Kevin said, damn, Rob, I was having a good moving day until I heard that. Yeah. Listen, this is one of those things that you had to know about.
I hate that you have that problem. I'm glad you got it fixed.
Because I had to know about it. I needed you to hear about it, not because I think it's like a story of mass importance. I needed you to hear about this story only because I heard about this story. And if I have to have that knowledge in my head about Brevin Galloway's injury, then dang it, you do too.
All right, so here's the deal. I'm willing to take a risk on Joe, but he can ruin it for every single one of you. I want you to know that. Every single one. I will turn the phones off. You may ask, Lonzo, do you have that authority? I don't care. I will turn the phones off if Joe ruins this for all of you. And he's going to ruin it for all of you. And I'm going to push the button, and then phones are off.
Okay. Joe is going to get to come on the air to, I assume, do nothing more than talk basketball with us. And no, Joe, there is pressure on you because Lonzo will take calls for the rest of the day if you blow it. Welcome to the show, Joe. Good to have you.
Hello, Rob. How are you today, buddy?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, I mean, it is a thing that guys get. It's called a hydro seal. What it is, it's a sack of fluid that builds up inside the, let's say the area.
Okay.
Inside the sack there. And twice I had to have mine drained. They actually stick a needle inside there and they just syringe it out. And then the third time when I went back, the doctor says, well, we're not going to keep draining it. We're just going to cut you open and we're going to take this thing out.
Joe.
And it's a possibility that he could have had the same thing.
All right. Take this thing out.
Do you want me to? I have gone and pulled up from the Mayo Clinic the official description and definition of what Joe's talking about. And I'm more than happy to read it. Lonzo, at the end of the day, is the gatekeeper of what gets and doesn't get on
it really comes down to, is this helping the listeners?
It was considered a hydrosealectomy. That was the surgery.
Okay, so I'm looking at it. It is a type of swelling of a particular body part on men. Shall we say?
So it has nothing to do with elephantitis or something like that.
No.
Okay,
well,
all right.
So apparently,
is it akin to that sort of thing that causes?
I don't know. Apparently,
when it's filled up, it does sure look like elephantitis. So.
Listen, I don't know that's what Brevin Galloway is dealing with here, Joe. But I know whatever he is dealing with, it sounds miserable, frankly.
Oh, it was miserable for me for a couple of weeks. After that, it was fine.
I am curious, Joe. After the surgery, are you doing well now?
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Everything works. No problems.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, it works great.
All right. Hey, Joe, virtual handshake from the radio station, buddy. We are glad you are back in working order, my guy.
I mean, this was 7 years ago, so.
Oh,
yeah.
So the recovery time is no worse than 7 years. Good enough for me. Joe, appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate it. That's an incredible phone call.
All right, I got to tell you, that's not what he said when I answered the phone.
Can you tell me what he said when you answered the phone?
No, I can't. Which is why I did this thing. As a call screener, you got to take a chance on something sometimes, or you don't. And I took a chance, and Joe.
I'm glad you did.
And Joe just my perception of where it was going, he went the exact opposite, and so phones are still open for now. That was a good job. Good job, Joe. Way to go.
Listen,
did.
Let's be real.
But if you said that in the first place, I wouldn't have been nervous. But
this is a very sensitive topic.
In a lot of ways, yes.
In a lot of different ways. This is a very sensitive topic. And when Joe came in, and I have no idea what he told Lonzo off the air before he came on the air, but I will tell you that Lonzo, when I was talking while he answered the phone, I heard the words, I am sorry you had that problem. I'm glad that it's better, but I don't know that I can put you on the air with that.
Well, and here's proof that I was concerned is I got loud. And I knew I got loud because I just, yeah.
Lonzo answers the phone ordinarily, and he picks up the receiver, and he puts it to his ear, and he spins and puts his back to me so that he's talking away from the microphones in the room because, there's no glass between us. There's no sound barrier here. In a lot of studios, the producer sits in a different room, so he cuts his mic and he can answer the phone like normal. Lonzo spins around. He faces the wall. He talks quietly. I usually have no idea what he's talking about on the phone. but I heard the words, "I'm sorry you had that problem. I'm glad that you are better, but I don't know if I can put you on the air with this." And then Lonzo decided, like an absolute gambling man, to roll the dice and throw Joe and his testicular fortitude onto the air to break down what may or may not be the problem with Brevin Galloway. And by the way, Joe did a hell of a job, because that is absolutely a very, shall we say, touchy-feely topic that could go squirrely on you quickly. And Joe walked us through it without third grade bio class LOLs.
I will put that episode up against any episode of Dr. Pimple Popper.
Fact.
We didn't need the visual. A picture was painted. We got the entire story. We now know the results of what had to happen, and that he's doing well. So, I mean,
Texter said, "Oh God, why did I send you that text?" I don't know. Did you think when you sent me a text talking about a Clemson player and his exploding, his words, not mine, that wasn't going to take over the show for a few minutes? Texter, you are not a first-time texter. You are a long-time listener of this show, Texter, and there was a part of your brain that for a second thought, yeah, I could probably text Rob the fact that a player went on Instagram and said that his rocks exploded, and that won't take up a segment or two. Brevin, my dude, get better soon. For your own sake. Because that sounds miserable. The good news is he said that he had surgery, and 3 hours later, his have, quote, reduced to a normal size. Here's my question. Brevin Galloway seems to be coming out of anesthesia in that video. Do you think in about 8 hours, he's going to pick up his cell phone and be like, damn, why do I have so many Insta notifications? Wait, what is this video that got posted on my TL? Play it and just go, oh no. Oh no. Let's take a break, ladies and gentlemen, mainly because I want one and you probably need one. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Rashad Beard is going to join us, host of the Panther Nation podcast. We are double dipping this week with Rashad, but we have good reason. There is a new head coach in the CLT. We'll tell you who it is, how we think he stacks up and lines up, and we'll ask Rashad about the drama coming out from the Steve Wilkes camp based on it. All that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. And bring us back. Rashad, what's up, big fella?
What's up, guys?
How you doing, man? Feeling better? Got some breath. We can start working now.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. Reich is cool.
Why are you implying that there was a problem for Rashad?
Because Rashad yesterday was biting at the bit, man. He was ready to get a coach so we could go to work.
He's got it now.
Yeah.
What I'm
Yeah,
saying.
we're good.
The direction, Rob, is forward.
Always. She just wrote back, dude. I told that I don't know how much of the last segment you got to hear, Rashad.
I just got in here.
Yeah, be glad you just got in here.
A Clemson player, basketball player, posted an Instagram where he said, I think I can say it on the stream if
You
not
can.
there.
You can.
He put up an Instagram video where he said that his balls exploded and he had to have surgery to get them back to a normal size, quote unquote. My mom was like, you have to stop right now. I was like, yo, if that segment doesn't get us a ratings boost, nothing will.
Yeah, the risky part is I took a phone call, and I was going to ban all phone calls if it went the wrong way.
Great call.
And dude talked about similar surgery and recovery and was really technical.
Rashad
It was
sitting here like, what the hell show am I on? What am I doing with my life?
I think for basketball more than anything, though, you're a little more visible if you have problems, and if there is swelling, let's say, in a certain area, probably going to show up.
There are dudes that have perfected the art of giving you the old tap to the boys before you go up to get a rebound. I've played those dudes. I hate those dudes.
Yeah, and in football, we call that a cup check.
Right. We don't do double dips with guests all that often on the Rob Brown Show, but we do today because yesterday we ended our interview with Rashad Beard, one half of the Panther Nation podcast, available on YouTube. And yes, they did go live minutes after the hiring. We ended our interview with Rashad yesterday with Rashad basically saying, get me a damn coach so we can go to work. And David Tepper, we now know, listens to this show up in the CLT because Shad said, get me a coach and let's go to work. And within an hour, Frank Reich was signed as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Rashad Beard is back to break that hiring down with us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstage. Shad, what's up, big dog?
What's going on, guys? Like I said yesterday, I knew this was on the horizon. I knew this was happening pretty soon. Kind of got the feeling that it was going to be right, just based on what the sources were saying. So yeah, I mean, this is a solid hire. I like it. I really do feel bad for Steve Wilkes. It's unfortunate. There's a lot that comes with that, and I don't want to get too far into that, but I do feel bad for him. I think he did an excellent job kind of removing us from mediocrity and giving us a little bit of hope. And, he set the bar a little bit higher. So now moving forward, Frank Reich has to take this and make something work with it. But I think it was a good hire. I think it was the right hire, and I'm happy about it.
So Frank Reich obviously gets let loose from Indianapolis. They started, if I recall correctly, 3-5-1, and they canned him at that point. And look, if we're being honest, there are a couple other coaches in the NFL that did worse than 3-5-1 out of the gate. I'll tell you what made me feel better. And we kind of hinted at this yesterday, Rashad. Jim Irsay's insistence on making Jeff Saturday not just a candidate, but the first candidate that the Indianapolis Colts have given a second interview to leads me to believe that something has popped in Jim Irsay's head, And these are now ego moves for Jim Irsay. He is kind of starting to tread into that Jerry Jones category of ownership where it becomes more about him than the success of the team. And if that is what happened with the firing of Frank Reich, if that was Irsay going, I need to prove a point that I'm the smart football guy in the room, and Frank Reich, who, by the way, in 5 years had to work with 5 different starting quarterbacks because of terrible decision-making and the untimely retiring of Andrew Luck. But then after that, it was just problem after problem with the organization. It kind of makes me a little more comfortable with Frank Reich because I can compartmentalize those problems that happened in Indy and go, I think those were on Irsay, not Frank Reich, and he just got a raw deal.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because yesterday when we went live, I have a fellow Colts podcaster who I invited on the show, and he essentially seconded those same feelings that you said. Because if you look at Frank Reich and what he was going through last year, he went 3-5-1, like you were saying, and they got fired. You bring in Saturday, and they still were garbage. So they had issues beyond Reich at head coach, and from what I heard last year, the issues, were offensive line related. There were the guys just weren't doing their jobs. And so it's the complete opposite effect of what we had here in Carolina, and where, we knew that our guy was Matt Rule was the problem. You get him out of here, you get a solid head coach in here in Wilkes, and it completely flips. It's not a personnel issue, which is what I've been saying with the Carolina Panthers for the longest time. We don't have a personnel problem. We have dogs on our team. It's a matter of coaching. And I think it's a complete opposite of what they had in Indianapolis. I think Reich is a solid coach. He worked with what he worked with there up in Indianapolis. And I think he got the shaft, right? But I think, at the end of the day, I think he's going to come here and work with a solid group of guys and be able to coach them up. And you're going to see some solid success early. That's just my opinion.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us here for a double dip on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Listen, quarterback is the other big concern. And we've talked about this. You and I have both said that we feel like there are, as you just said a minute ago, enough dogs on this team that this team was a good head coach quarterback combination away from really turning a corner. And I think if you look at the 4 remaining teams standing in the NFL playoffs right now, with the exception of San Francisco, the other 3 teams are teams that have a good quarterback head coach setup. Brock Purdy is still proving himself, but Kyle Shanahan has proven plenty of times that he understands how to work an offense with the talent that he has. Frank Reich, during his last few years at Indy, after a couple of good playoff runs and the Andrew Luck retirement, had to work with 4 other quarterbacks over 4 years, including Jacoby Brissett for a year, that aren't guys we would call NFL quality. So while we still do have to find the dude to lock in under center, Frank Reich has done a commendable job with less talent than what we have on the roster right now. And we're trying to get better. And that kind of makes me a little more confident in the pick.
Yeah, another thing that came up yesterday during our conversation with the Colts podcaster was, he did work with some below-level talent. He caught Phillip Rivers at the end of his career. He caught Carson Wentz, who's broken at this point, Foles, Brissett, and Andrew Luck that retired. But one thing you can say about those guys is they all had career years under Reich, right? So he can work with quarterbacks. And one thing that has yet to be seen is that, he hasn't worked with a guy from the start, right? He kind of helped groom Wentz in Philadelphia, but he wasn't a play caller in Philly, but he was in Philadelphia and helped, Carson Wentz turn into Carson Wentz was on the way to becoming an MVP before he got hurt that year. So he was having a great season. And so he's worked with a young quarterback before. What we want to see here in Carolina is, and again, the formula is there. It's not rocket science. Get a young quarterback, work with him from the beginning, insert him week 1 and get it going. Surround him with talent, give him top tier wide receivers, top tier tight ends, a good running game, and this guy's going to be successful. Do not put it all on your young quarterback's back and expect him to carry the team. One thing with Frank Reich systems is that he runs his RPO system, which could be a good sign for Matt Corral. I know we kind of get lost in the sauce with Matt Corral, but Matt Corral back in Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, all they did was run quick RPOs, and Matt Corral looked solid. Doug Peterson, Frank Reich, they run that same style of offense. So if we don't land the quarterback, you could look for a resurgence for Matt Corral. I'm not saying they should do that. I'm a proponent of going out and get a CJ Stroud. I'm all on board with getting a young quarterback. But if they happen to miss on it, look on the QB Whisperer to fix a broken Matt Corral.
And I would even go so far as to say, and I agree with that take, Rashad, Matt Corral ain't broken. He got hurt, right? Like we have no idea what Matt Corral is as an NFL quarterback because we got to see him over a couple of weeks of camp. Then he got banged up. He's not even suited up for a regular season game yet. And again, yes, if I can get a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young. In fact, we were kind of laughing earlier this week because we came across a draft wire mock draft that had Indy moving up to number 1 to take Will Levis, which bumped CJ Stroud to 5, and Carolina jumping from 9 to 5 to get to guy, which I said, listen, there's about a 0.01% chance that CJ Stroud's making it to 5. If he does, that's about the range I start feeling good about jumping up. But if those guys aren't available, I'm not ready to say Matt Corral is a bust because we don't have any damn idea what that guy is. So if that is the experiment we go this year, or if you get Anthony Richardson at 9 and you go Darnold, Corral, Richardson to give Richardson the time to grow, the odds that one of those 3 guys is going to work out under Frank Reich's system is, I would say, worthy of rolling the dice.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, I'm not saying, I hope, because folks, I don't want folks to kill me. I'm not saying we should go out and 100% roll with Matt Corral. That is not what I'm saying by any means. I'm saying that if you happen to miss and the things don't fall the way we anticipate, and there's always a quarterback that falls every year. There's always one that falls further than they should. And so if we can't grab one of those guys, then we don't know. We just don't know what we don't know when it comes to Matt Corral. I'm not going to judge anybody under that Matt. I mean, listen, you saw what happened with Sam Darnold once Matt Rule was gone. Like all the quarterbacks essentially flipped. PJ Walker was better. Matt Corral, Sam Darnold was better. All the quarterbacks were better. So I don't want to judge any quarterback playing under, although it was pretty bad. I got to admit that it was bad. Those preseason games were bad with Matt Corral, but you never know. You never know what could happen. And I agree with what you're saying. Anything could happen.
So I guess I'm that crazy fan guy over here who thinks that you should trade whatever draft picks you can to go up and get CJ Stroud. And I do think it's a possibility that with as much draft capital as the Carolina Panthers have, that they can trade up. You know what? You can throw in a Sam Darnold too.
True, but keep in mind that CJ Stroud is going to cost you 2 first-round picks this year's and next.
I don't care.
Good with that?
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. And I don't think anybody from Panther Nation would care once the W start rolling in. It doesn't, like, we get into this situation where we want to protect these picks, right? But we've seen it before. Like, we've seen quarterbacks, especially if you treat them right. Not a Justin Fields situation where you're putting it all on his backs, all on his legs. You have to support these guys. And that's why it's important if you decide to trade up that, again, we're in a situation where you have a good offensive line. We don't have a bad offensive line. We have a solid offensive line. We have a decent wide receiver core in DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall. There are weapons around, and now you have a solid running back core in Foreman and Hubbard. Like, I feel 100% confident in moving up and putting a young quarterback behind this offensive line and what we have. And maybe what happens? What happens when you add a D-Hop? Like, what happens when you start to go and get out and you start to track these weapons? Anything could happen. So you can't put it all on the quarterback's shoulders. You have to provide him some talent around him, and then he will be better. I promise you. So I feel 100% confident with trading up.
Let me ask you one more. This is a really interesting conversation to have, Rashad, and I think the dynamics why make themselves known. Right after Frank Reich got announced as a head coach, we read the statement, I should say, from Steve Wilkes' attorneys, right? And he came out and said, look, we're very disappointed that Steve got passed over. We think that Steve did a great job. We feel like given the opportunity, he would have continued to do that. And they said there is a problem with racism when it comes to hiring head coaches at the NFL level. That's a statement that I overall genuinely agree with, Rashad. But I also would go, I think Frank Reich was the better guy for the job, in all honesty. So I will ask you, and I hope, because I didn't prep this question beforehand, I hope you're willing to answer it. If you're not, that's fine too. What was your response when you read Steve Wilkes' lawyer coming out, basically all but insinuating there's going to be a lawsuit coming, especially with the Brian Flores story from the last couple of years breaking out?
Yeah, I hate it, man. I hate it because I agree with you. I do think that Frank Reich is a better coach than Steve Wilkes. I do. I firmly believe that. And it sucks that it gets clouded. And I'm not saying that it's him. I'm not saying that Steve Wilkes is. And listen, this is so tough, like to really break down, because I get it. I get both sides. Because what else could he have? What else could Steve Wilkes do? I mean, he took this team, he flipped it around, completely different. And I don't know what else he could have done. I know he could have won the Bucs game. I get it. He could have won that.
You know what he
game.
also could have done? He could have been consistent.
I agree.
Not changing the game plan every other game, especially after something worked.
I agree, but at the same time, he's working with something that was handed to him. You also have to, at the same time, imagine what could have happened if he were able to pick his own staff. And I agree. I don't want to sit up here because I agree. I agree that Reich is the better coach. And it's just tough that this gets overlooked because of the situation with the lawsuit. It's looming. And honestly, in all honesty, David Tepper, if you look at this, this is a ballsy move by him. Like, this is like, you have to know that this is coming. And so it's just tough, man. I don't know how else to answer this question, but you know, it kind of is what it is. And I think one of our guests came on the show. I invited some folks to come on, and they brought up this question. Now I pose this up to you all. Frank Reich, right now in NFC South, where do you rank him in the head coach standings in the NFC South?
Damn sure ahead of Dennis Allen. But again, I rank myself ahead of Dennis Allen, if we're being honest with each other. Ahead of Dennis Allen, I would have to say you got to put him above Todd Bowles. And I don't think we have enough about Arthur Smith to say that I can't. I mean, I got to say right now, today, in day number 1, Frank Reich might be the best coach in the NFC South.
Exactly. And when he said that, I was like mind blown, because where would you rank Wilkes in that same rankings?
No.
Exactly.
I'll say no better than second. No better than second.
Exactly. And so when you put it that way, it's like, oh man, like, you made the right decision. And it sucks for Wilkes. I get it. I completely get it. But we got the better coach, and I can't argue with it. Again, he's gonna have to come out there, and every week we're gonna have to prove it. But I can't argue with Reich over Wilkes. I can't.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the same situation. Like I said, I genuinely think that there is a problem with under the surface racism when it comes to hiring head coaches in the NFL. I also think in this case, it's pretty clear the better guy got the job, all of that aside. So it's going to be interesting to watch that play out, not just in Charlotte, but with the NFL as a whole. Because now I wonder, does Wilkes tag up with Brian Flores, who may or may not get a head coaching job in Arizona, by the way, because he's on their radar. We'll find out. Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. Make sure you will search and subscribe and hit that notification bell on YouTube for the PNP. Rashad, you're the man, big dog. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. We are going to go live for the press conference. I believe it's scheduled for Tuesday. So we're going to live react to that. And also we're going to react to Frank Reich's staff, because he's got to fill the staff. So that's going to be something to watch next for Frank Reich. But I'm excited. Let's get it.
Make sure you are tuned into the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. We'll talk to you next Thursday, big dog.
All right, man. Thank you, guys.
You know it. That is Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. That was a heck of an effort from Rashad Beard right there.
Glad Rashad's on my side. Trade whatever you need to. Go up and get CJ Stroud. When's the last time the Panthers had a number 1 draft pick quarterback? Had a high
Cam.
Right. And whether you hate Cam or love Cam, he did pretty well for a really long time.
So much.
Yeah. What are you going to do with those picks?
Fill out a lot of other holes on the roster.
Are you? Because how many holes are there really?
Safety, linebacker, defensive line.
I think you can get some decent guys like that later on in the draft. And there's also free agency with that. But quarterback, you can't.
You're giving up more chances to go find these guys.
Hey, we've seen them go the other way. That's what they always do. Let's go this way once and see what happens.
Turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall. If you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, or throat or cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Bray just did a shoot interview where he said that creepy cult leader Bray he can't do without Brody, and that the Fiend is dead. He said the Fiend died at WrestleMania.
We'll see.
Yep, that's what I said. That's what I would say if I
the
didn't
Fiend
want the Fiend to be dead.
Well, the Fiend has already showed up once, at least once, and when Bray came back, he was in the audience. I guess
LA Knight did an interview where they said, "What would you say the difference is between Max Dupree and LA Knight?" And his answer was, "Who?"
that's a good move.
Yeah,
That's a very good move.
yeah. All right, let me ask you if I'll ask the whole stream. Am I a bad person for this thought? A story just went up about a trophy hunter. They went out hunting lions. Now, don't care about your feelings on hunting. Trophy hunter went out and they went to a place where you basically pay thousands of dollars. People go out and feed these lions every day, so they keep coming back to the same place, and you just go shoot one of them, right? So the guy shoots a lion. While he's posing for a picture with that lion, the brother of that lion attacked them and killed the guy. That's just karma, right? I don't believe in karma, but that's just karma. Like, you brought the lions to a place to make it easier to shoot them. You shot one. You killed it. Then the lion hunted you back.
I am not going to celebrate either.
I'm not celebrating, but I'm also not sad about it. It's like, well, I mean, you created a spot where lions come knowing that there is food, and then you presented yourself as food.
Well, he took
that's on you.
You take the risk.
Yeah, that's on you. Man, check this out.
The end of the bloodline is nigh.
I am very, very excited about having the first SmackDown after the Rumble, because I think something weird's going down Saturday night. Our número 2 So the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, and you on a Friday morning, y'all. We're going to get to the AFC and NFC championship game coming up in a minute. Lonzo and I gave you our picks yesterday. We'll break down the X's and O's a little further coming up in a few minutes. The number of early entrants into the NFL draft is down this year. Can we draw a direct line from NIL in the portal to that? We'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes from right now. There is more drama in U.S. soccer. We told you yesterday that two very high-ranking members of the U.S. Soccer Federation administration have both stepped down, leaving effectively one power player left. We're going to get into that in just a few minutes. But before we get into any of that, I am going to risk making myself look like a bad person by asking a question on the air that I asked on the stream a second ago. If you're not watching the stream, you should. Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, Twitter.com/TheFanUpstate, or search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show on YouTube or Twitch. And do that now because starting next week, and I know I've talked about this in the past, but I think for the most part figured out the video editing part of it. Starting next week, there's going to be a lot more digital content coming out from the show. And I want you guys to be a part of that. So let me ask you on the air the same question I asked on the stream. We went a little more in-depth on the stream, and that's why you should join the stream. You get on off-air conversations that are different. There is a story that came out within the last week or two of a couple of guys that went trophy hunting in Africa. Now, I hunt. I have hunted throughout my life. Got no problem with hunting. But to me, there is a difference between like going to shoot turkeys out in the field versus going big game trophy hunting the way that this guy did it. He went to a park in Africa where the park attendants basically create a feeding zone for lions, right? They go out and they bring meat, food. And so the lions know every day if you show up at this place, there's going to be fresh food for them. And they do this so that trophy hunters can buy their license, go to this place. They know where the lions are. They know where the lions are going to be, what the lions are doing, what time they're going to be there, whatever. And basically, you just kind of hang out in the back of a truck until the lions show up for the lunch bell, and you shoot a lion, right? So this guy goes to where they feed these lions. The lions are effectively trained to show up every day, and he shoots a lion. He gets out of the truck to go take a picture of his prize, of his trophy. And as he gets out of the truck to take a picture with the dead lion he just shot, that was trained effectively to show up and be shot, he got out of the truck, goes to take the trophy, and while he's taking the picture with the dead lion, the brother of that lion that also showed up every day for the dinner bell attacked and killed the guy. Now, my reaction was, I don't celebrate the Lions' victory here, but I'm not really sad about it either, right? Like, you bleeped around and you found out, as the phrase goes. If you train the Lions to show up every day, knowing that there is going to be food available every day at this particular time, the Lions aren't going to show up, see a dude walking around and go, oh, that's not food. That's a person. To the lion, they know that every day at this time there's food here, which means that everything made of meat, as scientifically humans are made of meat. The lion knows I show up here, there's going to be meat. I don't care what form the meat takes, and I don't care to the aliveness of the meat or not. I just want the meat. So the lion looks. The dude is taking a second to pose for a camera, which makes you a pretty easy target for a lion. And the brother of the lion shot, I don't think was looking and going, "You killed my brother." I think the lion looked and went, "Lunch, dog."
Is it a habit? Because I don't know about trophy hunting. Is it a habit to put your gun down whilst taking a picture with the thing you shot?
Oh, the guy still was holding the rifle.
So he had a shot. He literally had a shot at it.
See, the difference in hunting lions versus, say, white-tailed deer is that the lion can hunt you back, right? If I go out to the woods looking for a deer, which, again, I have done. If I go out looking for a deer, I mean, there's a low chance that, like, a buck during rut season catches me off guard and hits me with a 12-point.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get 12 points to the chest, it's probably going to hurt.
But the chances of that are minimal. I mean, it happens, but, like, not a lot, right? The difference between hunting a white-tailed deer or a trophy or a turkey is that the lion can hunt you back. And I don't know how much David Attenborough you've watched in your life. I am a massive David Attenborough fan. David Attenborough's nature documentaries are one of my favorite things to watch. If you've never seen Deep Blue Planet, watch it. It's incredible.
I was more of a Marlon Perkins guy.
Sure.
But that was, it's age difference there.
Love David Attenborough. What do you mean? David Attenborough's 120.
Marlon Perkins was older than that.
Fair enough. Big David Attenborough guy. And if you ever watch any of the Planet Earth specials that David Attenborough has made, he made one about the African savannah, including a long segment on the king of the jungle, or in this case, the king of the savannah, and about the hunting strategies of lions. And one thing lions, or really any predator, want to do is they want to get their prey when they're vulnerable. Because if you try to take down a water buffalo and the buffalo knows you're coming, it's got them big pointy horns. And if it sticks one into the side of a lion, that lion's toast. So they look for sick, injured, elderly animals and try to take them when they're vulnerable. I will start by saying, Lonzo, not to be mean, but this guy, how do we say, wasn't exactly in the best shape. All right?
Wow.
Yeah. He's a big feller.
At the same time, I saw a dude all over social media the other day shooting guns.
Sure.
Like,
I saw that guy.
That guy?
Saw that guy.
That guy ain't getting snuck up on
Sure.
because of his size.
But this boy was a big boy. He knelt down, held his rifle, but he knelt down facing the camera, which, if you've taken pictures, you know, you got to sit there for a second. Cheese, which means you ain't paying attention. And his back is very clearly turned to a big thing of brush. And lions ain't dumb. They've been doing this a very long time. Lion won, do nothing. And I got no sympathy because you decided to hunt something that can hunt you back. I'm not celebrating the lion's victory.
All right,
I'm not mourning the guy's L.
I got to say this also. That's a lot of meat. And I know someone lost their life, but if you're a lion,
I'm eating for a month off that.
Yeah,
guy.
that's a big dude.
Yeah.
Think get in my belly.
Yeah.
That's the size of this dude.
And again, not celebrating it, but I'm also not going to be like, oh, how sad. No, dude. You killed a lion.
Did the lion survive?
Where the lion can get you back.
Did the lion that killed this guy, did he survive?
I don't know. It doesn't say in the story. It doesn't say in the story. I would hope that they let that lion live on, right? Congratulations to the lion. He won this round.
I'm guessing, seeing the size of that individual, the lion probably wasn't wanting to let go, so they probably had to.
Maybe. I don't know is the answer. So my question is, am I a bad person for not caring that the lion won this round?
I hate to see anyone lose their life.
I do too.
So, I mean,
But you also kind of put yourself in that spot, right? Like you kind of did that to yourself. All right. Let's get some stuff in here, shall we? Let's get some sports in here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it was sporting of the lion to take
hey,
I mean,
that one particular lion is now 1-0. In the human v. lion battle, that lion is now Brock Lesnar. All right. Let's talk some sports. Let's start with this story. We have talked very briefly. We've talked around it a couple of times. The National Football League draft is nearly upon us. We've got NFC and AFC championship games this weekend. We've got the Flag Football Pro Bowl next weekend. Then we've got the Super Bowl the weekend after that. And then it's draft season. Well, the NFL draft deadline has come and gone. If you wanted to declare for the draft, your name's got to be in. The NFL a couple days ago, released the annual list of players who would enter the draft after their third year of eligibility on last Friday. Of the 82 players who officially declared, 69 are leaving school early, while 13 underclassmen are declaring for the draft after getting their degrees. The list of 13 includes Alabama linebacker Will Anderson. It includes quarterback Bryce Young out of Alabama. Those are 2 top 5 selections in this draft. The group of 69 early entries, those that are leaving school early, includes a lot of potential first-round picks. Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson, Notre Dame tight end Michael Myers, TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnson, Penn State defensive back Joey Porter Jr., etc. The number of players leaving school for the 2023 draft is officially down. A total of 100 players, 73 entries, and 27 graduates declared for last year. The number of 2022 draft declarations was down from 2021 when 128 players entered the draft. So we have had 3 consecutive years, all of which were NIL and portal years, where the number of players leaving college early to go into the NFL draft has declined. And I think the obvious question is, can we draw a line directly between these numbers, the diminishing numbers, and the NIL and the transfer portal?
The small sample size that we have is pointing towards that, and it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? A lot of these guys leave early because they say they want to take care of their families. They want to make money. Well, they're already making money. And so the urgency is no longer there. They still want to get to the next level because everyone does. If you're playing college football or if you're playing peewee, high school, whatever, you want to make it to the NFL. So they want to make it to the next level, but they're already making money. They're taking care of everybody. And now they can just concentrate on having fun where you are before you go up and it becomes your job.
So I would say the first part of this, I agree with all of that. But I would also say that the big part of this number, we don't need to really talk about a guy like Will Anderson, defensive end out of Alabama. That guy's a top 5 pick, and he was always going to be. Will Anderson is going to make more money as an NFL player than he possibly could, even at Alabama off NIL. The guys that we are talking about are guys like Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver out of LSU. Guys like Javon Dexter, defensive tackle from Florida. These are guys that are fringe draft prospects. These are guys that are getting grades back of, hey, you could be drafted in the 5th round. You could go undrafted. It just depends on how the board falls and if there's one particular GM or head coach that maybe fell in love with you during the course of the season. These are guys that in years past, when they could not make money at the college football level, would have entered because the possibility of being drafted, the possibility of being a UDFA who gets signed to a futures contract or put onto a practice squad to make $500,000 a year, getting the hell beat out of you at practices, was still a better prospect financially than staying in college and not being able to earn anything. Well, now guys like Javon Dexter, guys like Josh Downs, the 3rd wide receiver at North Carolina this year, guys like Isaiah Foskey, defensive end out of Notre Dame. These are all guys that are fringe draft possibilities who could go to the draft, but if you're playing high enough to even be drafted, even be a fringe guy, you're pretty good at college, right? What we do this number every year, and I don't remember what it is off time. What is it, Lonzo? Like 3% of college football players make it to the NFL?
I think it's like 2.
Yeah, it's a stupid low number. If you are Jalen Hyatt, Raheem Jarrett from Tennessee and Maryland, these are guys that are getting probably 5th to 7th round grades. Jalen Hyatt might get probably closer to like a 3rd or 4th round grade. But if you're getting these grades, while it means that you are going to be considered a middle-of-the-road, mediocre NFL player, you're a standout college football player. If you even have a draft grade, you are likely a standout college football player. And if you're a standout college football player, you likely have the potential to make some money with the NIL. Now, the reason it's not all of these kids staying in college is because I think when people hear NIL, you think of NIL money like DJ Uyunglele getting that Dr. Pepper and Bojangles money, right? You think about Bryce Young getting that $2-3 million in NIL money. You think about
Hey, brother.
you think about the kid Jaden Rashada, who had a $9 million NIL offer at Miami, scratched it to get a $14 million offer at Florida, then got that revoked and asked out so he could likely go back to Miami for that $9 million, right? But the overwhelming majority of kids who get NIL money, even as standout players like Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama, like Parrish Johnson, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, these guys ain't getting 7 figures in NIL. The 3rd and 4th round guys might get 6 figures. They might get into the 6-figure range. A lot of them are getting probably salaries that are comparable to what we make. When I say we, I mean the royal we, like us as an average of normal dudes and dudettes out here, right? So those are the guys that I'm really interested in. If I got a $70,000 a year NIL deal, I don't know, let me pick a name off the list. Michael Mayer, tight end, Notre Dame. Michael Mayer's going to go somewhere in the middle of the draft. But if I'm Michael Mayer and I get a $250,000 NIL deal, I risk going UDFA and maybe not getting drafted at all. Or I can stay for one more year, get a $250,000, and get better as a college football player to up my draft status. If I'm Brandon Hill, defensive back at Pittsburgh, and I'm catching, let's say, $90,000 a year in an NIL deal, well, $90K a year versus the risk of getting undrafted because I've got a 5th or 6th round draft grade, and knowing that if there's no DB run, it could push me into the UDFA category. A $90K, let's say theoretically, a $90K deal there is a gamble, right? I can stay, I can make 90, I can stay for one more year. But if I blow my ACL, if I blow my PCL, my MCL, if I suffer a head injury that prevents me from playing in the NFL, yeah, I got $90K for 1 year, but I've given up an NFL career for it. Versus, I go into the draft. If I get picked up in the 6th or 7th round, I'm still making well more than the 6 figures that I'm not getting at Pitt. And I've got the potential to get paid $500,000 as a practice squad guy, potentially. That's a gamble at that point, right? So I think I absolutely agree with Lonzo. I absolutely think that number has dropped because there are some kids that can look. Hey, Hudson just said Spencer Rattler. That's a great name. Spence could have gone, right? 3 years in, could have gone to the league eligible, decided to come back. I have no personal connection with Spencer Rattler. So I will say I'm speculating on this to make that abundantly clear. I speculate that if Spencer Rattler couldn't make NIL money this year, Spencer Rattler would be in the NFL draft, right? And Spencer Rattler probably would get drafted. But Spencer Rattler has an opportunity after the 3-game stint that he had to end this year to come back to work under Dow Loggins, a guy with NFL experience who runs an NFL pro-style offense, to get better. And, Lonzo, I bet there's a couple of scratch checks coming Spencer's way under the name of NIL this season.
More than likely, yeah, there probably is. Probably to the point, the kind of checks that you and I would love to have. We could share them, and still we would love to have them.
So Spence is one of those guys. Had the opportunity to go to the draft, passed it up, probably in part speculation, probably in part to catch some NIL paper while he sharpens his tool set to get ready for next year's draft. Otherwise, Spence would be on the list of guys that we are talking about right now. Can I draw a direct correlation from NIL to the number of underclassmen going into the draft? Yes, I can. The question mark is this a bad thing? Is it bad for the league? Is it bad for college football? And my answer, Lonzo, is no. No, it's not. There will be less prospects in the draft. There will be less opportunities to hit on a Tom Brady in the 6th round. Sure. But there's also going to be a lot of kids that stay at college and they get better as football players before they come to the league, where everybody was an all-conference player. Everybody would have been all-conference. That's up at the show. They get an opportunity to get better, to get another year experience, to put some scratch in the bank while they do it, and be better players when they enter the draft the next year, which makes them more likely to hit his prospects, in my opinion. This is not a bad thing for college. It's not a bad thing for the NFL. It is a good thing, to me, for every single party involved, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a break. Skrilla just said, was watching Vivo 90s music videos last night before bed and was wondering who wears the hair better, Lonzo or Michael Bolton?
By the way, Michael Bolton's hair is much too curly, so I don't think the comparison works. Maybe like the lead singer from Warrant or something like that.
I don't know. I think Bolton's a pretty good comparison.
You're just looking at my receding hairline. That's all.
When a man loves a woman. Michael Bolton. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
Nothing wrong with Michael Bolton.
Michael Bolton.
I'm just more of a rocker, believe it or not. Actually, more alternative, but anyway.
You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right part at the right time.
I'm South Carolina head football coach Shane Beaver. My friends at the South Carolina Forestry Commission want your help in canceling wildfires this year. At least the ones caused by humans, which are about 90% of
By the way, someone posted something during this show.
Cool.
So I guess just it's just over. Would be my guess. Do want to make you angry, but it kind of bothered me after all the crap we went through.
Team autographs, fan fest, and a halftime performance by the amazing Slatic will make this a day to remember for all basketball fans. For tickets,
There's a monster being built. That monster is going to burn out.
Golfers, the best upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. A 2023 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 9 premier upstate courses, and it's still only $99. Grab your foursome and get your Upstate Golf Cards now to play courses including Rolling Green, Wingfoot Tryon, a club at
It was posted on the fan Twitter by the D.
Order at the Upstate Golf Card.
But you know what he did? Put his name on it.
For only $99. UpstateGolfCard.com. UpstateGolfCard.com. Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric, we get the job done right the first time. Call Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric today, or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.com.
Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
Coming up on a Friday episode of Offside with Mark Ryan and Diesel, a mistake you can't make as an NFL GM, and I will illustrate the why. No rookie quarterback has ever even made it to the Super Bowl. Can Brock Purdy be the first? We've got Red Beard on college football and so much more, all in a Friday episode. Offside with Mark Ryan and Diesel.
Number one for real afternoon sports talk.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7 on the fan.
Upstate.
Give you the game on the Rob Brown Show.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo with you on a beautiful Upstate Friday afternoon. We got our NFL awards finalist earlier in the week, and we now know who is competing, and we have the odds. Your 2022 NFL MVP finalists are out. They are Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Joey Ice Cold Burrow, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Patrick Mahomes, quarterbacks of the Kansas City Chiefs. And Justin Jefferson, the only non-quarterback on the list, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. And I am going to go ahead and tell you right now, Patrick Mahomes has this award already in his trophy case in his house. It's already there. Patrick Mahomes has already won this award. He led the NFL in passing yards. He led the NFL in passing touchdowns. Didn't just lead it with 40 freaking 1 passing touchdowns, but obliterated the league. He has already got an MVP to his credit, but it was 4 years ago, back in the 2018 season. And now he is in the Super Bowl, meaning he is going to have the benefit of recency bias for the final few votes that are that will come in after the AFC Championship game, but before the Super Bowl. Now, there is an ever so small chance that Joe Burrow, who did throw for 4,475 yards, that's about 800 yards fewer than Patrick Mahomes, threw for 6 fewer touchdowns for the Bengals, but did it without a Travis Kelce, did have Jamar out there with him for most of the year, but I would argue had less weapons than Patrick Mahomes did. That's something that voters are going to have to take into account. The reality is that the folks who vote on this, predominantly media members, they love Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but that's not why. Here's the reason why. Does he deserve to win? Yes. And if Burrow upsets him, He does, because the narrative has changed in the last couple of weeks. But a narrative was set at the beginning of the year by sports media. Patrick Mahomes is in trouble because Tyreek Hill is gone. And it was everywhere. Everywhere you tuned in, how could they possibly? Then they started winning games. How are they able to do this without Tyreek Hill? And there came a point where people were pointing out, as well as they should have, that these same people could not say Kansas City without saying Tyreek Hill. They could not do that. But what did Mahomes do? He went out there and used the guys that he had and did better than he did when Tyreek Hill was there. I mean, that's why he was painted as going to win this MVP from the beginning of the year.
I think you're spot on accurate. I think you're spot on right. If Patrick Mahomes had similar numbers to the last couple of years, I still think he's probably one of the favorites to win it. But the fact that he lost Tyreek Hill, the fact that all of us, and I am absolutely including myself in that, all of us except Lonzo said without Tyreek, it is about to get tougher for Patrick Mahomes. And I still think it did. I think it got tougher for Patrick Mahomes, and he was better anyway.
By the way, and I'm going to keep saying this, I think it got easier because he didn't have that guy, which we found out recently, left because he didn't get enough targets. We didn't have that. He didn't have that guy constantly in his ear, man, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, or doing what is now the symbol for receivers. If you're watching on stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, you know what I just did.
Thanks, Stefan. Patrick Mahomes lost his best receiver. And Lonzo will argue it didn't get tougher. I think it did. Regardless of who's right, his numbers got better this year. Numbers got better. And with the target on his back, because everybody knew the Chiefs were going to be maybe not but AFC favorite, and he did it anyway. Mahomes has, in my opinion, no doubt, won this award. Now, that makes the second award a little bit more interesting. That is your 2022 NFL Offensive Player of the Year. There are 3 players on this list who are also on the MVP award list: Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, and Patrick Mahomes. There is one name on this list that is not on the MVP list, and that list, or that man, is Tyreek. Tyreek is on this list as well. Now, this one's really interesting to me because with 3 of the names also on the MVP, the question mark is going to be how many folks want to hand this award to the guy that is not the MVP, right? If you have the vote sheet in front of you and you put down Patrick Mahomes as your MVP selection, as I would, do you have comfort in also voting Patrick Mahomes as the Offensive Player of the Year? My question would be, how could you not, right? How could you not? But I've also heard a lot of arguments from people who do have votes who said that they don't love doing that. They don't love doing that. There are 2 wide receivers on this list, Tyreek and Justin. I'm going to tell you right now, my belief in this is that it is either going to be Reek or Jalen Hurts that win this. Tyreek is in the mix because without Patrick Mahomes, with a banged up Tua Tagovailoa, with Teddy Bridgewater, and with a cat named Skyler, Tyreek had 119 catches, 1,710 receiving yards, and 7 receiving touchdowns in his first season in Miami. Justin Jefferson had a hell of a year too. But because of the inconsistency at quarterback for Miami and the fact that the Miami Dolphins made the playoffs with a busted up Tua, a busted up Teddy, and a cat named Skyler, I think I got to vote Tyreek Hill here. You don't have to like him as a dude, But Tyreek's not. If Tyreek put up these numbers with Patrick Mahomes, we would still think they're incredible numbers. He did it with 3 quarterbacks, 2 of them being backups, including a third stringer. Tyreek's gonna win this. Gonna win Offensive Player of the Year, in my opinion.
I think Jalen Hurts wins it. I think Patrick Mahomes wins MVP, and they give. It's not really a consolation prize, but I think they give this award to Jalen Hurts. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, because he absolutely does.
I think Jalen Hurts could win this award, and he is my second pick if I'm putting scratch down on it. Jalen Hurts, 3,701 passing yards, 22 touchdowns. He also tied for second in the NFL with 13 rushing touchdowns as well. Jalen's a total package. He is absolutely a comeback player of the year candidate as far as I'm concerned, and probably should win this award. I think if he wins this award, though, it will be because if anybody else but Patrick Mahomes was there, if Mahomes didn't put up the numbers he put up, losing Jalen for those 2 games, having everybody say, oh, Sirianni built such a good Eagles offense that anybody could step in and have success. Gardner stepped in and they lost, 2 of their last 3 without Jalen. And when Jalen came back, the Eagles are now in the NFC title game behind him. If it was any other year, I think Jalen Hurts is the most valuable player for the NFL this year. But because he can't win MVP, I almost don't wonder if he doesn't win Offensive Player of the Year, Lonzo, as kind of a consolation prize.
Yeah, that's what I believe is going to happen.
Yeah, you might be right. 2022 NFL Defensive Player of the Year finalist Nick Bosa, defensive end for the Niners, Chris Jones, defensive tackle from the Chiefs, and Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. I think Bosa is this guy. I love Micah Parsons, 13.5 sacks while playing a number of different roles for Dallas, but Bosa had 18.5 sacks, 3 more than any other player, and was without question the talk of defensive breakdowns every single week. Nick Bosa's winning that award, and that's the most confident one I have.
All right, I hope you're right, but I don't think that's who's going to win. I think Micah Parsons is going to win, just because of name recognition.
See, I think Bosa's got that name recognition.
Not the same as Micah Parsons. I don't think he does.
I think if Micah Parsons wins it, it's because Micah Parsons played everywhere for Dallas. Played outside linebacker, inside linebacker, defensive end.
It's because every show talks about Dallas, and eventually his name gets mentioned.
You might not be wrong. NFL Comeback Player of the Year finalist Saquon Barkley, running back for the Giants. Christian McCaffrey, running back for the 49ers. Geno Smith, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to go, wait, why is McCaffrey on that list? Remember, McCaffrey missed, 14 games last year due to injury? Bounced back this year, played well enough that the 49ers were willing to give up a big package to get him. Went out to San Francisco, 9 consecutive games with a touchdown. I love Saquon. I am very glad to see Saquon run the way that he ran towards the end of the season this year. Geno Smith got his first full-time starting role in almost a decade, and all he did was make the Pro Bowl and take the Seahawks into the playoffs. It's going to come down to Geno versus McCaffrey, and I think the touchdown streak is going to win it for McCaffrey. The fact that he's got the touchdown streak and the fact that the Niners have made it all the way to the NFC playoffs, NFC championship round, whereas Geno got bumped out in the first round, I think the playoff berth and the touchdown streak ultimately will win Christian McCaffrey this award.
McCaffrey should win this. I agree. But I think Geno Smith wins because of the story. And it all comes down to who's doing the voting. Not just the story of what he's able to do, but how bad Russell Wilson looked when he went somewhere else. Russell Wilson looking bad in Denver
made Geno look better.
Make Geno look better, yes.
You might not be wrong. Coach of the Year finalists, Brian Daboll, New York Giants, Doug Peterson, Jacksonville Jaguars, Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Doug Peterson, and it ain't close. It's Doug Peterson, and it ain't close, in my opinion. Doug Peterson took the worst team in the NFL last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the most dysfunctional team in the NFL last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he won the division. Now, granted, you can say it is because of the fact that the Tennessee Titans went through one of the most epic collapses we have seen in a very long time, but ain't Nobody expected nothing from Doug Peterson's Jags, and all he did was take them to the AFC playoffs and win an AFC playoff game.
What's the criteria for a coach of the year?
Whatever you want.
I mean, I don't get why Andy Reid isn't in there. The Chiefs, 5 straight AFC championships. Is this the Michael Jordan LeBron thing? What is it? Why is Andy Reid not in there?
My suspicion is,
but they lost Tyreek Hill, and look what they were able to do. Rob,
I agree with you. You're not wrong. But my suspicion is you will notice that the 3 guys on this list all started the year with quarterbacks who were considered disappointments. The fact that Andy Reid has Patrick Mahomes to play with, there are going to be some voters, some nominators who are going to go, yeah, Andy Reid's good, but a lot of coaches could coach a team that had Patrick Mahomes as its starting quarterback to success, and that's going to detract from their willingness to put Andy Reid on this list.
Right,
whereas Doug Peterson took a Trevor Lawrence who sucked last year, and I told you it was because of Herb, and made him look very good up to and including winning a playoff game.
If I had to vote,
City has done what they've expected to do with Patrick Mahomes. Jacksonville did more.
I get what you're saying. If I had to vote, I'd vote for Shanahan because of his quarterback situation. One thing Peterson had, his quarterback was there the entire, but he was there the entire year.
Yep.
Shanahan had to go through 3 guys, and he's got a shot to go to the Super Bowl with Mr. Irrelevant.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah, so I think Shanahan wins this.
I got no problem with that. If they give it to Kyle Shanahan, I will have 0 problem with it. Doug Peterson's my vote. No problem with Shanahan winning it. Rookie of the Year finalist, Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers, Kenneth Walker III of the Seattle Seahawks, and Garrett Wilson with the Jets. Listen, I hate this. Explain to me why Garrett Wilson with the Jets. Granted, their quarterback problem was Zach Wilson and Josh White was awful, but explain to me why Garrett Wilson gets a nod and Chris Olave doesn't.
I don't know. And either way, I'd be happy because they're both Ohio State receivers. I don't know. Maybe it's market size. Neither one of them, he's not going to win anyway. Brock Purdy's winning this.
That's hard.
Brock Purdy.
The only thing that's going to hurt Brock Purdy is that he didn't step onto the field until the midpoint of the season. If Brock Purdy did this all season long, he runs away with this award.
All right, what is the voting criteria? Who votes on this? That's really what
predominantly media members.
Right. So Brock Purdy's going to win.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just all you see right now, and you should see a bunch of Brock. It's a great story, and dude is playing really well.
He is. You ain't wrong. NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner, cornerback, New York Jets, Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end from the Lions, and Tariq Woolen from the Seahawks. It's either Sauce or Hutchinson, right?
Yeah, I'd like to see Aiden Hutchinson win because I like to see the big guys win, even though I know the school he comes from. And he shouldn't have cut his hair. That was a mistake. Never cut your hair. But Sauce Gardner is going to win this.
You might not be wrong. I'll tell you where Sauce gets hurt. Sauce gets hurt because Tariq Woolen tied the league lead with 6 picks as a rookie, right? The problem for Sauce is that a problem that a lot of defensive backs have. It's that they don't get a ton of stats because guys don't throw at him, right? Sauce was so good, you don't want to throw at that guy, so the numbers aren't there. Tariq Woolen, until late in the year, the numbers were there because guys tried him, but he kept picking them off. So the fact that there are 2 cornerbacks leads me to believe that Aiden Hutchinson, by the way, with all that the Lions have done, I don't understand why Campbell's not on the Coach of the Year list either. But with all the Lions have done, I think Aiden Hutchinson wins that award. And finally, I don't think anybody cares. If you care about the Assistant Coach of the Year finalists, Ben Johnson, OC for the Lions, D'Amico Ryans, DC for the Niners, and Shane Steichen, Offensive Coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Honestly, any one of these 3 dudes could do it. Anyone. I think D'Amico wins it because San Francisco was so consistently on top of the defensive rankings start to finish. The Lions needed a few more wins for Johnson to get it. Steichen for the Eagles as OC could do it.
Yeah, I'm going with D'Amico also.
But I'm going to go D'Amico. The Niners defense was just that good. All right, so they are your NFL finalists. Who are your votes? Who do you want? Text them in the line. Some of the guys you like. Texter says, Rob, be careful hunting them damn deer. They could make you lose your groin. Telling you, man. Telling you. All right, let's take a break. My name is Rob. His name is Lonzo. This show's name is The Rob Brown Show. The station's name is The Fan Upstate.
Kevin, I know this hurts, and someday you'll be able to say this to me, but my team's still playing, yours isn't. That's as simple as we can get down to that. That's
My nephew, my mom and my nephew are coming up next weekend to spend the weekend. And I was talking to Lou yesterday, and I said, what do you want to do next weekend? And he said, I want to play video games with you.
Dude, what a moment.
I feel like I'm nailing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm nailing the Funkle thing.
Way to go.
I feel like I'm nailing the Funkle thing. Remember at 11:30 we got
I was wondering if that was still happening because you haven't you haven't mentioned it. So. Really? Whoa. On it.
They'll help you find the best color combinations with slacks, shirts, polo suits, and so much more. There's nothing quite like surprising your sweetheart with a new getup that has you looking your best. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com and stop by their stores at 222 Train Street in Greer or at their new location on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
And even if you
Finding
think
great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack.
On the
Sure,
board last
you can
night,
post
top
your
rank.
job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the
Barely
right
worth
person
it.
comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them.
I'm struggling.
Powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get
On the board
qualified
last night,
candidates
top rank.
fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay,
There's no one.
ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for.
It's
The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in
What is
ZipRecruiter get a
probably on
quality
paper the
candidate
best
within the
thing
first day.
And even if you
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try
Did the NBA
ZipRecruiter
to
for
Mavs?
free. That's right, free at
Down
ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Middleton.
That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
On the board last night, top rank for two.
ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Fought
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride. From
Accurate.
pandemic to inflation, I'm sure you could use a break. If your business has
Hence
5 or
was
more
on
employees since
CBS
5
this
years
morning.
old,
He was a
you might be
genius.
eligible to receive a payroll tax refund of up to
Was an
$26,000 per employee. The challenge is getting your
Final
hands on
four.
it. Hi, I'm Howard Mackler, and that's why I
Right.
founded
Barely worked.
GetRefunds.com to cut through the red tape and get you the money. A team of tax attorneys we have put together are highly trained in this little known payroll tax refund program. We do all the work, charge another dime up front, and simply share a percentage of the cash that we get from you. Businesses of all types are qualified.
Steven, you know, obviously we're asking Shane Beamer about his hot dog preferences. You know that's happening, right?
We have helped return over $1 billion to businesses, and we can help you too. Just go to getrefunds.com/sports, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited period of time. Don't lose out on up to $26,000 per employee. Go to getrefunds.com/sports. That's getrefunds.com/sports.
Need bucks? With Jackson Hewitt, don't wait weeks for the IRS to send you tax returns. Come in now for up to $3,500 with a no interest, no fee refund advance loan and file your taxes. That's up to $3,500 today. Don't let high prices get you down. When every dollar matters, it matters who does your taxes. So get to Jackson Hewitt today. For eligible clients, loaned by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
When choosing a wireless provider, you're forced to compromise. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could get reliable service without a contract and save money? Introducing Total by Verizon, the new no contract, no credit check carrier for you and your family. With plans starting at just $30 a month on America's most reliable 5G network. Total by Verizon is available at totalbyverizon.com and at retailers nationwide. Based on first pick ranking and Remetrics first half 2022 5G assessments of 125 metros. Experiences may vary, not endorsement.
From the Ingles Market Studio, the Fan.
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM
Always live from the Free CBS Sports Radio. Listen on the
Very interesting here, Zoe. I've been keeping an eye on the NFL draft odds for first overall pick. Who do you think the favorite is right now?
Oh, you're talking about the player.
Yeah, first overall pick. Who's the first overall pick?
I'm still going to go with Stroud as number one.
Bryce Young is minus 125. CJ Stroud is plus 275 to be the first overall pick. Vegas thinks that Bryce Young is that dude. That is wild to me. I got no problem with thinking Bryce Young is a favorite, but him not being even money, him being a heavy favorite, and CJ going to plus 275 is absolutely wild to me.
That could work out in the Panthers' favor if other people are going to trade up for Bryce Young, then you can trade up not as high for CJ Stroud. It's still going to be a gamble either way.
Look, I've seen a couple more mock drafts that have somebody trading up and not taking a quarterback with number one or taking one of the other guys. I still don't think Will Levis is that dude to go number one overall. But I've seen a couple of drafts that have had CJ Stroud fall down to 4 or 5. Yeah, if he's available at 4 or 5, Scott Fitterer better be on the phone. If you can get up 4 spots instead of 8, like I told, Lonzo and Shad have both said they go all in to jump up to number 1 and get CJ Stroud. And I get it. The dude looks good, right? I just think you can fill a lot more holes with the number of picks because it's not just about the number of picks you'll have to trade to swap picks with number 1 overall. It is how many teams that you will have to bid against. And while what fans are saying certainly aren't end-all, be-all, the more I look around at different fan site mock drafts, the more fans I see making the argument that they want their team to trade up to number 1. I don't know how much smoke there is to that fire, but those are very interesting numbers to me. Let's take a break. When we come back for the third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show. Got a few more topics I want to get into. Then, for the last 2 segments of the next hour, NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie will be with us here in studio. We had Corey on last year. It was an incredible interview with Corey LaJoie. Corey's going to be in studio with us for half an hour as we approach both NASCAR night this Saturday evening for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, and we are less than a month and a half away from the Daytona 500, a race that Corey has a couple of very interesting memories from. And we'll talk about that and have a little fun with Corey LaJoie, NASCAR driver, to end this show and end our week. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
So have you thought about camera situation or anything like that?
Yeah, I have another one in there that I'm going to plug into.
Or maybe another laptop.
That's true. I could bring my laptop. Yeah, that's probably.
I think laptop would probably be the best move.
There was no one who could just look at the field, in this case, look at the court, and see everything.
Actor have been battling multiple health issues, even hospitalized for the last 3 weeks.
On the court last night, top-ranked Purdue fought off Michigan 75-70, and number 21 FAU downed Middle Tennessee 85-67 for a school record 19-game win streak and the second 20-win season in the program's D1 history. In the NBA, the Mavs were 99-95 winners in Phoenix, despite Luka making a first-quarter exit with a sprained ankle. And Julius Randle hung 37.
Him, I guess over here on the corner, you think?
Yeah, probably.
Miami football has fired offensive coordinator Josh.
Can I slide this over?
One season, Gaddis joined the Hurricanes.
Why?
To put the laptop. Well, I guess
I mean, you can do whatever you need to, but the problem with moving that thing, there's a short in the power supply, and it just disappears. So whenever we have guests in studio, I'm talking to the people, I'm not talking to you. I always have this thing where I have to try to decide. Yeah, you mute. Should I put my hair up or not? I think I'm good today. I think I'm good. I mean, I could be wrong. I might make it, I think I'm okay.
Corey's got hair too. He's gonna rival you for best hair.
So we're about to see.
Yeah.
Everyone already thinks that Tim Snow has better hair than me.
Hey, look,
And-
everybody, I'm over here now. Hi.
I'm like 15 years older than that, or 20 years older than that. I probably should count.
Who put this banner in the way?
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Times math is just so hard.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Hey, I'll take some. Great. And some French bread. Oh, nah. Oh, you just gonna eat these dry, plain, boring nachos with no French. Seriously?
Is there any other condiment that you can think of that goes out of their way to do that sort of thing?
Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Go up just a little bit. And headlights. Get lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
When it comes to the best sports talk, I saw Nolan, man. Listen to the very next thing on Odyssey, no matter where you are.
I just saw the enemy. The enemy was just in our studio. Lesson for you kids. The joke doesn't work if someone's not paying attention. Whatever, Rob. Whatever, man.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go. Are you frightened that I can match your volume and your projection if I like? Let's have a yell off. No, I got a show tomorrow. You probably shouldn't do that.
The third, the final, the best of money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the radio broadcast. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me on the other side of the metaphorical glass today, he is the great one. Lonzo is here as well as we get set up for Conference Championship weekend in the National Football League.
I'm shining up the ring on my
I
chest.
see that.
Ready to win another one. I need another one of these. In my lifetime, I want to see Kansas City win another Super Bowl. I've only seen it happen one time. I want to see it happen again.
It does feel nice to get a Lombardi. Atlanta fans wouldn't know that.
You know what's better than one Lombardi? 2 Lombardis.
Facts. Hashtag facts. Coming up here in about half an hour, we're going to be joined by NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie, you have seen him show up on some of the biggest races on the circuit. We will talk to him about driving, about being a driver. Looking forward to spending a few minutes with him. If you have got any questions for Corey LaJoie, start sending them in now to 71307, 71307. Start that text with Fan Corey. That way we can get those questions to him while he's in studio. I will tell you this. Unless he has given himself the old off-season cleanup, Corey LaJoie is going to be the first dude in a long time that enters this studio and rivals the great one for best hair on the air.
You keep saying that, and I'm not gonna look up pictures because I want to see when he walks in because I ain't buying it. I'm just not. I mean, my hair looks good, man. Come on.
Corey, like me, is that dude that when he lets the locks come out, they're impressive. They're impressive. So we'll see if LaJoie can take the best hair on the Fan Upstate title away from the great one for a little while. Texter says, Rob, I was boat can hammered last year when I met Corey at NASCAR night. Well, maybe you'll remember this conversation.
I was going to say,
Corey.
apparently you weren't because you remember you met him.
No, getting boat can hammered doesn't instantly mean you just forget everything that happened.
Okay, I'll take your word for it because I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it can get a little fuzzy.
I've been around people, but I've never, and never will myself. So,
I mean, I was a young man once. There are certainly some nights of which there are, let's say, time dilations.
Many moons ago.
Yeah.
Rob was a young man.
Yeah. There are some nights that have some blank spaces, baby, in there that I've got to, you kind of wake up the next day and put the puzzle together. So if you were boat can hammered when you met Corey at NASCAR night last year, well, it's 11:03 in the morning. So you'll remember this conversation. Looking forward to it. Corey will be here in just a little while. Let's talk NFC, AFC championship game previews. And let's start with the NFC championship game. The Philadelphia Eagles are at home taking on Brock Purdy and his San Francisco 49ers in what I think could very well be a phenomenal football game. You have got a San Francisco defense, which has been excellent all year. It is the reason that DeMeco Ryans has gotten a number of interviews as a potential head coach down the line. On the flip side, Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense, they found something, yo. They found something, and I think that's the ball game. It's can San Francisco's defense keep Philadelphia's offense from getting in a rhythm? You have got two dominant defensive lines coming into this one. If the 49ers can get pressure on Jalen Hurts, Lonzo, it's still not a guarantee. Jalen Hurts is perhaps not as impressive of a runner as Lamar Jackson is in terms of raw athleticism. You know what Jalen Hurts is? Very smart about how he runs the football. And maybe more importantly, Philly draws up designed runs for Jalen in a way that the Ravens don't with Lamar. And the benefit of that is making a defense look at Jalen Hurts as a threat on every single play. You can set the O-line in a shifted pass pro set, right? So you have them kick back off the line of scrimmage and pass pro and then start moving to the right in order to allow Jalen to roll that direction. It forces, at that point, your defensive backs to roll in that direction in case Jalen decides to uncork one, except for if your DBs all back out, unless you've got a guy committed to Jalen, which if you do opens up the middle of the field, which is the strongest part of the field for Jalen Hurts to throw to. And if you put a dude on that dude and Jalen finds a guy sitting down in the zone, he'll find him. If you don't, you can design runs out of that Jalen Hurts is going to burn you on. So it is not enough for Sanford, like with a lot of quarterbacks. Joey B, for instance, is one of them. With a lot of quarterbacks, if you control the line of scrimmage, you control the narrative, right? If you win the line of scrimmage battle, you win the game. It is not necessarily that way with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. You cannot just control the line of scrimmage. It is not enough to just make the line of scrimmage a wall of red and gold that running backs can't get through. You have to back the line of scrimmage up into Jalen Hurts. You have got to push the line back so that when Jalen is settled down to throw the football, he's got guys in his grill. He's got guys making him uncomfortable. The unfortunate part for San Francisco is they do not have that same weapon in Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy a lot. I tweeted out last week during the San Francisco game that the impressive thing about Brock Purdy is, even for a good rookie, how calm and collected he looks in the face of pressure. The problem is, if the Eagles D-line, which is a good one, gets to Brock Purdy does not have the same escapability or danger that Jalen Hurts brings to the table. And that is the primary reason that, despite the fact that I love a great defense at this stage in the NFL playoffs, Lonzo, I'm leaning towards the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, I ain't leaning. I'm going straight up San Francisco. And for, excuse me, a couple of the things that you said. So as far as Jalen Hurts goes, you said if they get – the number one defense is going to get pressure on Jalen Hurts. There is no doubt there. Will he get some passes off and things? Yes, he will. They're too good of a team for that not to happen. As far as Brock Purdy goes, he's got a lot of quick passes, man. A lot of quick passes. So if you're going to try to put pressure on the young quarterback because he's a young quarterback, think of all the outlets he has. I mean, just having Christian McCaffrey out there a few yards away from you, you throw the ball to him, you got a good shot of getting 5 or 6 yards a pop. Same with Deebo Samuel. And just the defense for San Francisco is so good, and all the pieces around Brock Purdy are great that I think it gives San Francisco an advantage.
All right. I went back and I looked down the San Francisco schedule. This is a very good 13-4 team that's won their division. Let's take a look at the L's that they took. L all the way back in week 1. Now, you can argue week 1, not the best gauge of where a team is. But
quarterback then?
Trey Lance. Correct. They lost 19-10 to the Chicago Bears. It was Trey Lance's first start as the starter of the 49ers.
And right away the noise started.
They lost in week 3 by a single point on the road at the Denver Broncos. Then they lost, hilariously, on the road at Atlanta. Then they lost the next week at home to Kansas City, right? The last loss that they took was to Kansas City in the beginning of the season. Now, the argument there.
A game against Kansas City where Christian McCaffrey had just come in, was playing, even though he didn't know the playbook, and still got a ton of yards.
You're not wrong.
If that happens a week later, does Kansas City still beat San Francisco? I don't know.
I don't know either. What I do know about the 4 losses that the 49ers took, again, all early in the season, right? 2 out of the first 3 weeks were L's. They lost back-to-back in weeks, 6 and 7? But all 4 of these quarterbacks they lost to. Justin Fields in week 1, Russell Wilson in week 3. Atlanta had Marcus Mariota in week 7. So was it 7? No, week 6. And Patrick Mahomes in week 7. So they're all mobile quarterbacks. Not great quarterbacks, but they're all, even Russell Wilson at his worst in Nathaniel Hackett's offense was still extending plays by squirming out of the pocket, make something happen. San Francisco lost 4 games, and all 4 games they lost to quarterbacks that have good legs underneath them. Jalen Hurts is right now. This is not a speculation. This is a statement. Jalen Hurts is the best mobile quarterback in the game right now. All right. He is better on his legs. I think Lamar Jackson's a more physical runner, but he's better on his legs than Lamar has been. He is tied for 2nd in the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts is the best mobile quarterback in the game right now. And the only kryptonite that the 49ers had all season was against QBs who can move their legs. In fact, I go back and I look at games where they played QBs not known for their legs. Beat Justin Herbert. They beat Andy Dalton. They beat Tom Brady 35-7 because Brady can't move the pocket, right? When San Francisco can corner you in the pocket, the defense is incredible. If you get out of the pocket against the San Francisco defense, that's where you beat them, and nobody is better at that than Jalen Hurts. Give me the Eagles. And it is solely because we can talk about the flip side of the ball. We can talk about San Francisco's offense. Debo and McCaffrey are both absolutely 2 of the biggest threats in the league. McCaffrey's on a 9-game touchdown streak, and I'm willing to bet he gets it to 10 this weekend against San Francisco. San Francisco can move the ball. But the Eagles' strength is their defensive line and their defensive backs. Their D-line can create a lot of pressure. Their defensive backs create coverage sacks. And if they create a bunch of coverage sacks out of this, Brock Purdy's in trouble, right? Brock Purdy's in trouble. It is that and nothing else. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert. These are weapons for Jalen, but Jalen is the most important weapon of all. Zoe, give me the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, I've already said 49ers. There could be a repeat of the Super Bowl however many years ago when I first got to watch my first Super Bowl, which was Cincinnati versus the 49ers. I hope that's not the case, but it could be.
All right, let's take a look at the flip side. Let's look at the AFC Championship. Cincinnati goes into what the fans are now referring to as Burrowhead Stadium. Why? Because Joey B is 3-0 against Patty Mahomes and his Chiefs, including wins in Arrowhead.
I'm pretty sure we're not doing Twitter trending topics
Is
today.
that trending right now?
The Bengals is because of that, and there are a bunch of ESPN analysts.
Because Corey's going to be here. So.
Yeah, right. Well, ESPN analysts are going back and forth about that. We didn't say it; the fans did, and a lot of people. This is why we don't watch ESPN anymore, and a bunch of stuff like that. But yeah, the Burrowhead thing is it's taken on a life of its own, and we'll see. You're not gonna rattle him with noise, though. You're just not. You got to beat him on the field. Noise is not going to stop Joe Burrow.
No, not at all. You are correct. Let's start with the biggest issue of all. We know what it is. It's Patrick Mahomes' ankle. That just is the number one storyline in this.
See, I was going to say the Kansas City defense, but
that's fine. No, it's Patrick's ankle. And here's the question. There are two options here, Lonzo. He is either going to be able to gut it out and play enough at 65, 75, 80% that he's still Patrick Mahomes, or he's going to gut it out and he's not going to be able to do that. And he's not going to be able to adequately move. The strength of the Kansas City offense, to me, and I'll let Zoe correct me where I'm wrong, the strength of the Kansas City offense is that they run a straight-ahead pro-style offense under Andy Reid. But if anything goes wrong, Patrick Mahomes improvises better than maybe any other quarterback in the history of football, except maybe Michael Vick. Maybe. Patrick Mahomes improvises better than anybody else, and that improvisation from Patrick Mahomes is what makes Kansas City work. If that high ankle sprain is worse than they are trying to sell us on it being, and the improvisation from Patrick Mahomes isn't there the way that it's usually there, that's what will get Kansas City in trouble in the face of a Cincinnati defense that loves under Zach Taylor to throw extra linebackers at you in weird looks to get you off balance in the first place.
That's all well and good. I get all that. But we did just see Chad Henne drive 98 yards last week.
Sure.
In a playoff game. We did see that. So what it comes down to, yes, Patrick Mahomes is great. Has the potential to someday be the greatest of all time. Has the potential to be that, for sure, if he can stay healthy. But it comes down to there's this large man on the sidelines who makes better halftime adjustments than just about anybody else in football. And if they find a way to shut Patrick Mahomes down, second half, they'll find a way to free him. I trust not only in Patrick Mahomes, even in injured Patrick Mahomes, but I trust in Andy Reid and his ability to adjust to all situations.
So I'm going to start with the Chad Henne take, which is what you lead off with there. I'm going to start with the Henne take, and the Henne take for me is this. Yes.
By the way, real quick, what Henne did is it gives everybody confidence, the fact that was able to happen. So if you come into a game knowing that your quarterback is injured, and those guys know how bad the injury is more than we do, it's good to know that you have confidence in the backup guy that if he has to go in there, that you're not going to have the huge drop-off that you have in most places because Chad Henne is capable and because the coaching staff will adjust the game to Chad Henne's strengths.
I agree with all of that as well. What I do think about the Chad Henne story from last week, Chad Henne came in a week where the defense you're lined up against prepared for Patrick Mahomes. Chad Henne is just a different type of quarterback. So you spent the week, and listen, you're NFL caliber players, you should be able to adjust your defense on the fly, just like the offense should be able to adjust back. Chess matches are fun. But you spend all week prepping for a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, who, as we mentioned, wins because of his improvisation, and you switch it up to a guy who doesn't improv, but who has a very good eye for the game. Not the most talented cat in the world, but has a great eye and brain for the game. If you prepare for Patrick Mahomes and then you catch Chad Henne out of nowhere, it's going to throw a wrinkle at you. And if you catch Chad Henne with Andy Reid building the game plan around him, yeah, it's going to throw your game plan defensively into chaos. Now, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are playing a very smart game in trying to convince everybody that Patrick Mahomes is 100%. There ain't no damn way. But it's smart to pretend like he is, because that way, if they fall for it.
As a man of science, how dare you come at science and say that science hasn't advanced enough that they can't make Patrick Mahomes not hurt for 3 hours?
Well, if they can, Sam Darnold's going to be furious. Furious, I tell you.
I We know Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, everybody in the Panthers had a high ankle sprain and were out for multiple weeks.
I think I got a high ankle sprain watching the Panthers.
And maybe it had to do with who was coaching them, who said, no, you're still out. Whereas none of them and all of them combined are not Patrick Mahomes.
I am just going to go ahead and, as a man of science,
As a man of science,
lean on the Mayo Clinic and the Andrews Institute instead of that guy on Twitter. Both of them say a high ankle sprain is a multi-week recovery.
Listen, Mr. Reddit doctor. I don't think you can really go there.
Again, credentials, baby. I suspect they are going to shoot Patrick Mahomes' ankle up with enough roids and feel-good juice that his ankle is going to be on cloud 9, right? I got no doubt. Doesn't mean it's not going to impact the game, all right? Now, as I said, Patrick Mahomes at 80% is still one of the best 10 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Question is he 80% or is he 40?
I think yesterday you said 5.
Yeah, I'd say 6.
All right,
Let's
okay.
just meet in the middle-ish. Patrick Mahomes, even on a busted wheel, is still one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And I think there's something to be said for that. But if he's on a busted wheel and Zach Taylor knows that, smells blood in the water, and sends the Sharks after him, then the question's going to be, does he have enough to continue to improvise and win a shootout with the Bengals? Flip side of the ball before we run to a break, because Corey LaJoie's in the building. We'll be talking to him next. Flip side of the ball is, with 3 linemen down for the Cincinnati Bengals and Kansas City defensively being willing to attack, can Joe Burrow move the pocket left and right enough to where he's not facing an onslaught and give receivers time to develop routes? If they can, Burrow's going to put points up, and now it becomes that shootout. If Kansas City plans for that, maintains contain on Joe Burrow, does not let him develop and evolve that offense as they go, that's where they get in trouble. But Patrick Mahomes' ankle is the story in this game.
All right, as far as Burrow goes, the lineman being down, he had that problem last week, and this was the story, and everyone said there's no way he's going to stay upright. And he didn't really get touched in the driving snow. So I'm not – the lineman thing, it's off the table. I think the backups that they have, it took them a while, but I think they built up a good bench there for Cincinnati, and I think the linemen are pretty good. So I'm not worried about that part. I think it's still, in the end, it comes down to Kansas City's defense. The bend not break defense, which I can't stand. Can they get pressure on Burrow? Can they keep them out of the end zone? This is going to be a shootout. It was a shootout last year. It's going to be a shootout this year. And hopefully it doesn't go to overtime again.
The Cincinnati uninvited guests taking on the Kansas City Patrick Mahomes ankles. That's going to be Sunday evening.
And will Burrowhead come into play?
Burrowhead Stadium. We'll have the full breakdown on Monday. Let's run to a break, because when we come back, NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie is in studio with us. The Greenville Swamp Rabbits NASCAR night is this Saturday. I'll be there. Corey will be there. You should be too. We'll talk about that and get a few NASCAR questions under our belt with Corey LaJoie when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. that you guys putting on the helmet, both sports, know that this is crazy dangerous. It's crazy physical. What is your appreciation for these guys that lace up skates on weekends?
I tell fans at the racetrack, and I ask them, if you've never been to a NASCAR race, that's the biggest gap between seeing it on TV and seeing it live.
Yeah.
Feeling it, touching it, smelling it, all the things. Hockey is a close second from watching it on TV to going and actually seeing a hockey game in person. So the fact that Spire Sports and Entertainment, also Spire Motorsports, who I drive for on the Cup side, they are really leaning into this NASCAR night. And we've got show cars at the Party in the Plaza. We've got the eNASCAR. You can try your hand at some simulation, try to beat my lap time. Then 6 o'clock, we've got a autograph session, so you can see me, Ty Dillon, a bunch of other NASCAR guys are hanging out.
All right, forget all that. You've just put out a challenge I didn't know was coming. What track is the simulator set up to run?
Wherever you want to go, buddy.
Really?
Yeah.
What am I running? Give me your best time.
Let's go to Bristol.
Let's go to Bristol?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to use the brake, man.
Why?
Because that takes skill, and I got it's all gas, baby.
All right, we can go to Daytona.
I did the NASCAR Hall of Fame up in Charlotte last year for the first time, which, by the way, is incredible.
It's a great place.
Yeah. Incredible experience. And they've got the simulator where you get in the car and all that. Best lap time of the week at the Dega.
You just floored it, man. There's really not a whole lot of skill that comes along. The skill comes with trying to position your 3,600-pound piece of metal in front of another guy's 3,600-pound piece of metal. That's harder than it is just to floor it.
All right, so talk to me about this. You've been racing since you were in your early teens.
Well, I started taking it serious when I was probably 12 or 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you got up to the big rigs, when you got up to Cup Series, and obviously you've gone go-karts all the way up, what was it like the first time you got into a Cup Series race when you hit that gas full speed and you are inches? Because it's something you watch on TV, and Jeff Gordon gets on and goes, these guys are 3 inches from each other when they're turning, and it's impressive to see it on TV. And I think you nailed it a second ago when you said when you see it in person for the first time. My first race was at Talladega, sitting out of the exit of the first turn, and I don't think you really understand how close it is. What is that like for you when you can look at the car next to you and not just see the decals, but see the pinstripes in them?
Well, that the 3 wide, 4 wide at Talladega is really not like, you feel like you're not even moving very fast because the cars are just going, they're only passing you slowly, but you're also going 205 miles an hour. But you bring up Jeff Gordon, my first ever Cup race, 2013. I had no business driving a Cup car at this point in time. And some poor guy let me drive his car. And the guy missed the race a couple of times. He missed the races before I got in this car. He wanted somebody that would at least lay it out there and try to get the thing in the show. First practice, I look up in the mirror. I merge off a pit lane. I look in the mirror, and Jeff Gordon's coming. I'm like, this might be a good guy to follow, right? And I get behind him, and it's one corner, and I can't even see him anymore. He's gone. They had brake markers 4, 3, 2, 1 to kind of gauge how far he lifted. We were at New Hampshire. I was lifting at like the 3. Jeff Gordon was lifting like after the 1. And after I see him do that 2 corners, I come in, I catch my breath, and I'm like trying to just figure out how to slow everything down. I go back out there. Sure enough, the next run, look in the mirror. Okay, there's Jeff Gordon. So I merge in behind him. And I'm like, well, shit, if Jeff Gordon can go to the 1, why can't I just go to the 1? Well, his car and his abilities were way more higher caliber than mine. So I went to the 1. I just didn't come out the other side. I ended up stuffed in the fence in between 3 and 4.
What's that radio call back to the pit like? Hey, my bad, boys.
Probably quiet.
Yeah.
And you limp it back to the garage area with your tail between your legs.
Yep.
Luckily, the guys got it halfway fixed. And I was able to lay a lap down and beat a couple guys to make it in the show. But that was my first, welcome to the big show. Like, you're not Jeff Gordon.
Sure. So let me ask you this, because this is a question that, I'm a fan, but I've never been in a garage or even close. Where is the importance of talent level and having the best available equipment? Because we've seen a lot of guys that, they're really well on good equipment, and then you put them in great equipment and they take off. There are some guys who move up to great equipment and you go, they just don't have that capability. So if somebody's on the track and seeing every level all over the place, where is the line of importance between having the car set up the right way, having the best equipment available, but also you just got it or you don't?
It's a great question. And I think it's situational and subjective where you saw a guy like Kyle Larson. He was a 1 or 2 win guy a year and at Ganassi. And then he gets plugged into Hendrick Motorsports and he wins 10 races in the championship. So, who you're surrounded by is huge. But then again, there's also a win, quote unquote, is different for every team. Smaller teams, they can look at a win as a top 15 like ours. We had a lot of top 15s last year. Thought we did a pretty good job, but we also stepped on our own toes a lot with a lot of mechanical failures. So I think that it's probably, I say 80-20. I mean, because you're only as good as the horse you're sitting on. But then again, there's also ways to figure out how to make your horse run a little faster on occasion.
Sure. Corey LaJoy, NASCAR driver, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate, talking a little NASCAR. What's your favorite track to drive?
I get that question a lot. A lot of them have pros and cons. It really depends on the car you're driving that day. I've been to some of my favorite tracks in Bristol or Martinsville and finished 6 laps down, and I left hating it. I've also been to some of my least favorite tracks, Kansas, Homestead, and had a great car, and then leave loving it. So it really depends on if it's your day or not. But I also always go into every weekend expecting it's gonna be my favorite one yet.
Short track guy. I mean, is that like it comes from the roots?
I grew up racing. I mean, I won Greenville Pickens Speedway growing up. That was one of my favorite tracks. Interesting, wore out short track. So yeah, I'm privy to short tracks, but I've actually gotten pretty decent at the 1.5 miles and be able to rip the boards and just trying to continue to grow the craft.
So it's been interesting because we had last year the Clash at the Coliseum get added. This year we're going street racing in Chicago, and I think we've seen especially over the last 4 or 5 years, this willingness for NASCAR to kind of adapt different molds, right? Like I'm in, this may be blasphemy or not, I don't know. I'm not a 1.5 mile cookie cutter guy. I think they get boring. I think they get repetitive, and there's so many of them that we see it over and over. So I was excited to see the Clash. I love Bristol. I love that they're going to lay dirt down on it again. I love the Chicago street race, a Vegas street race coming up potentially. I think there's a great, how do the guys on the circuit feel? Do y'all feel like it's NASCAR's better when there's more variety to what the races look like?
I think a lot of the drivers would agree with you that we don't want to race at a 1.5 mile D-shaped oval 25 times a year. I like stuff new. I don't particularly love the dirt. I don't think our cars are well equipped for it. But even then, there's a lot of great tracks that are miles. There's a lot of great tracks that are 3/4 miles and vice versa. So I do applaud NASCAR for always continue to adjust the schedule, be flexible with it. We're going, like you mentioned, a Chicago street course. We were out of that market for a while with Chicagoland. We left there, which was way out in the cut, and we're going to literally be driving by the bean.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be doing July 4th weekend, which I'm pumped up about. Don't know what to expect. That's why everybody should come out and check it out in person.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I've actually never been to Chicago, working on the girlfriend to make this happen. I'm like, we should just go to Chicago. No reason. And also this weekend, but no reason. I think it's a fantastic idea. Corey LaJoy is a driver for Spire Motorsports, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We've got to run to a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. If you guys got some questions for Corey, hit us up on the text line at 71307. We had a texter earlier say that they met you at NASCAR night last year, bleep hammered, quote unquote. So they said they're looking forward to come not doing that tomorrow.
Well, if you see me at 6, they've been drinking for a long time if they're already hammered at 6. So I don't know. Come sober. You could leave drunk if you want to.
NASCAR night.
NASCAR night. Get a little crazy.
That's right. And by the way, little college hockey taking place earlier in the day too, which is rad. We'll tell you about that. On the flip side, it's the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Beautiful. Be right back, Stream. Don't go anywhere.
That was some impressive.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie for Spire Motorsports joining us here on the show in town because tomorrow evening the Greenville Swamp Rabbits are hosting NASCAR night, and it is a double header because during the day, 2 o'clock, we got a little Ice Palmetto Bowl as the hockey teams from both the University of South Carolina and Clemson will get it on at the well as well. And I will tell you, Corey, this is really interesting. One of the things that I think hockey and NASCAR have in common is that the fans they have, like it's more of a niche fandom than like football where anybody will watch anybody. But the fans they have are always some of the most passionate in sports. You see that with the bitch. You go up to Carolina and watch the Hurricanes or Nashville and watch the Predators, and they've got that in common. And now with it being Clemson, South Carolina, followed by a Bits game, you add kind of that college football atmosphere into it. Man, hockey and NASCAR, I think, go hand in hand because of those fans. As a driver who is interacting with fans like at events tomorrow at NASCAR Night at the Swamp Rabbits, what's it like? What are those interactions like for you as your NASCAR career continues to develop?
Yeah, I mean, NASCAR fans in particular are diehards. No different than fans that come here and support the Swamp Rabbits. Like there's diehard hockey fans. So it's cool to see people support a little crossover. We got a lot of NASCAR fans coming out tomorrow night. We got a lot of Swamp Rabbit fans coming out tomorrow night. So it'll be interesting to see, how much the hockey fans start paying attention to NASCAR season with it about to be starting up here next week, and vice versa. Some NASCAR fans tune into hockey they might not have. So, man, they're doing it up tomorrow night. It's going to be huge. Make sure you get your tickets because it's going to be one of the biggest attended nights in Swamp Rapids history.
I have no doubt. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to be in the game, be in the building for both those games. And that kind of leads me to something I wanted to ask you about as a guy on the inside as a driver. To me, NASCAR, and I've given them credit for a number of years, I think NASCAR has done a better job at outreach to new fans than really any other sport. The NFL gets so big, they don't really have to market for new fans. Most of us just kind of are. College football constantly promoting its stuff. But I think that NASCAR has done a phenomenal job with outreach, which makes it interesting because the teams have to do as much work as the sport itself. Teams like Spire have to constantly be doing stuff like this. I read an article yesterday from Jim Rome, who comes on after us, that he said, for years, like I just kind of absolutely dumped on NASCAR for being a redneck sport and a Southern sport and all that. He said NASCAR has done more to win me over. And now he talks NASCAR on a show all the time. And I think it is that outreach. Events like this, to me, help grow the sport. As a driver on the inside that does events like this, how have you watched the growth and popularity of NASCAR picking up new fans? I know like Michael Jordan getting involved is huge. Getting more diversity amongst drivers is huge. Watching it to continue to grow into the 2020s, what's that been like from a guy on the inside?
Yeah, my career started in 2016. My first race was earlier, but really and truly every week started when I was 2016. And I've seen the growth. It was pretty low at that point. Fans weren't coming up, showing out, and the grandstands were pretty vacant. And now, I mean, we sold out Daytona 500. I think it's 8 years in a row now. And man, we're selling out Pocono. It's just a great example of the work NASCAR's been putting in. And we're trying to make, I say it all the time, we're trying to make NASCAR cool again. I mean, you see people wearing, fashion guys who don't know anything about NASCAR wearing throwback Tony Stewart shirts out in public. And you're starting to see a little bit that cultural shift. People starting to embrace it again. The cars actually look cool. I think the next gen cars actually make it a little more relatable for fans that see a car on the street, see it on a Sunday. Celebrities, like you mentioned, you got a lot of big guys. Pitbull, one of the owners in Trackhouse. MJ's the owner with 2311 with Denny. And it's just starting to grow. And you're going to see more of that fuel out of that fire in the next coming years. And I love where the markets we're going to. I love the people involved. It's just a pretty dang cool job, man.
That's interesting because, and we talk about the fans. I mean, you do have, it is a sport with a bunch of hardcore fans. And a lot of them, and they've called in the show and said, like, I don't like the changes. Like, I want it to be NASCAR the way it's always been and all that. And my thought has been, look, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards, right? There's no like, okay, we're okay with where we are. Everything's going to continue to cost more. You got to move ahead. All of this, to me, getting celebrities like Jordan involved, like you said, guys like Pitbull. When I went last year and you've got Nelly doing a pregame concert at Charlotte, that is out of the, I won't say norm, but the stereotype of NASCAR. And I think NASCAR has been working very hard to shatter those stereotypes. And I mean, even getting involved with something like a hockey game, these aren't really crossover sports, but when you kind of put them out there and you do stuff like this and you start to win new fans over, to me, it does exactly that. It makes NASCAR cool again.
Yeah. And I think this particular instance is an instance where the teams are also doing their part in pulling the sport with them, where it was a big separation between the league and the teams. There's a lot of just knocking heads there with what teams expected the leagues to do and vice versa. But this is a Spire Motorsports headed effort, Spire Sports and Entertainment headed effort. And then they asked NASCAR, hey, would you guys want to be involved? And of course they did. So I think you see NASCAR, as opposed to sticking their hand out, asking for money, they're trying to put their hand on you and help you go along just to push the sport. And I think over the last 5 or 6 years, they're starting to see all the fruits of that harvest. And I'm glad I'm a small part of it. I mean, I've got my podcast, Stacking Pennies, on NASCAR.com each and every week. I've seen that grow. It's just, there's a lot of good things coming out of it if you lean into it and you want to do it. And I love the sport. It's what I grew up doing. It's what I want my son to keep doing when he's old enough.
Corey LaJoie, NASCAR driver for Spire Motorsports. He will be tomorrow night at the Well. Big day of hockey right here in Greenville. The South Carolina v. Clemson Palmetto Bowl on ice is at 2. The Rabbits will be playing in their NAS. Those jerseys, by the way, are dope, dude.
Yeah, dude.
They're a great look.
They look like a fire suit.
Yeah.
They modeled it with the patches and sponsors. Look like,
Quick question. You know anybody who could give me one? Just out of curiosity?
I don't know.
I don't know
You'll
if
be there
they're-
tomorrow night. You could buy one at auction. Yeah. So we're auctioning all the jerseys off.
That's why he makes
After
the
the
bucks, ladies and gentlemen. This guy knows what the hell he's doing.
That's right.
So before we let you go, I do have to ask you this. You laced him up today.
Yeah.
You got on the ice. You bladed up. You went out with Lordo and the boys.
Oh, yeah.
How we feeling?
Dude, Lordo turned that dial up to
He put it
10.
on you?
Oh, my goodness. He was on the other side, and I think he kind of like saw me in the corner of his eye, like, oh, let's show this guy the ropes here. And I did a little bit of puck protection, trying to throw some bodies around. I went down once, popped back up. Everybody's in good shape. But you guys see, I mean, you watching from the 10th row eating popcorn ain't what those guys are doing when you're on the ice, man. Those guys are so fast and so strong. So that's what I'm excited to see tomorrow night. The guys that are out there, trying to make a living for themselves, trying to make it to the bigs, and they're giving all your effort. And I'm excited to see them tomorrow night.
I think I've told people that for years. I think my favorite thing about, truck races in NASCAR, hockey at this level with the bits, is that when you look at the athletes doing it at this level, they are doing it because they love the damn game and they are trying to make something. And to me, that is where competition's at its best. I've told people for years, if you go to a NASCAR race, if you go up to Charlotte for the Coke 600, go watch the truck race the day before, because those are the dudes that are trying to burn it up.
Yeah. It's different. Like at the end of the day, the cream rises to the top, and the guys with the most talent, get majority of the time the best shots. So that's also why you don't get a whole lot of passing or a whole lot of wild moves on a Sunday, because everybody from 1st to 35th know what they're doing. The guys in a truck race, only like 8 of them really know what they're doing, but the other guys are trying real hard. They just don't really know what's going on. And that's just a progression of it. And, but these guys have played hockey since they've been kids, man, and I was talking to a kid from Massachusetts. I was talking to some kid from Ontario. Like guys are from all over trying to be playing what I would say on a Sunday, but trying to be playing in the bigs. And
that's right.
It's cool to see you can familiarize yourself with somebody and watch their journey no different than anybody else in NASCAR.
Corey LaJoie is a NASCAR driver for Spire Motorsports. He is in the Ville because tomorrow night the Greenville Swamp Rabbits host NASCAR night at the Well. You can get your tickets now at swamprabbits.com. Corey's going to stick around. If you're on the stream, stay there, because we're actually going to take this conversation to stream exclusive. Got him for another few minutes. If you're not watching, Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, or follow us on YouTube or Twitch at The Rob Brown Show. We'll talk to Corey a few more minutes, starting up here in just a couple of minutes. For the rest of you, we'll see you back here Monday on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here. Stream only exclusive on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie from the Spire Motorsports team is here with us in the studio. And I got a few more things I want to hit on, Corey, but I just got a question on our text line, which if you are still watching on the stream and you want to text us, you're welcome to 71307 or just drop it in the chat. This is the question that just came in. And I feel like this is one of those questions that everybody has about the sport, and it never gets asked. Inappropriate question, but always wondered, how does someone go to the bathroom while racing for 4 hours? Do you hold it or just let her rip?
Man, I've never been able to do it.
Really?
Yeah, I've had to do it. Man, I've had to do it so bad. One time I thought that I was thinking at the end of the race, like, if I crash here, my bladder's going to explode. I'm going to die. I had to pee that bad. I just can't get myself to do it. There's guys that do it just religiously every weekend, but I'm not that guy.
So, like,
you just got to make sure you go right before you get in, and then you try to sweat it out.
All right. So look, we all deal with it. It's a real thing. But I've always told people, like, if you get doing something, you're not thinking about it. But there comes a point where you got to be ripping a $190 out of turn 3 and just like, dude, can we end this race? Like, can we red flag for a minute? You're telling me it's never happened. You can be honest. It's just us and a few thousand people.
Yeah.
Never happened.
I've never been able to do it. I've gotten lucky one time at Talladega. There's a red flag.
Yeah.
And I got out.
Right.
Which is like unheard of. You don't get out.
Did it like in the garage? Like, they talk about it? Like, is this like a topic of conversation for drivers?
No.
Okay.
No, because it's not like, hey man, are you a
right?
You a seat wetter?
Right.
Like, are you a seat No, we don't ask each other that.
A seat wetter. But like, all right. So my thought would be, new guy, you get called up, you get hooked up with a team, first couple races, like, you ask one of the older guys, right? Hey, are y'all just letting her rip, or like?
I never asked that question.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I just
fair enough.
You hear the stories of guys that would pee in their seat and then make their interior guys clean it up every week, and their interior guys would stick a sardine in their helmet vent hose, stuff like that, to like get them back. But you hear stuff like that, and I just can't do it, man.
Best prank you've seen on the circuit? Because I know that happens.
Yeah, it happens a little bit less. Everybody's so uptight anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to chum it up. There's always some good stuff where the good one is just like a bunny rabbit tail. So you can get like a SD20 can, and it just, when you spray it, it's white, and you can spray it on somebody's butt and they don't see it, and they can walk around with like a mound of SD20 on their butt, and it'll stick there for a couple hours, and you just know that guy got bunny tailed. Another good one too is what you do for a new guy. Like, if you Rob Brown comes to the shop to start helping me out. Hey man, I just want to get going. I want to work in racing one day. Well, I'm going to send you to the parts store for a long wait. Oh yeah, sure. You drive to the parts store for a long wait, and the guy at the parts counter, he'll go eat lunch. He'll go take a nap.
Right.
And then he comes back out about 45 minutes later and says, well, you got your long wait.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's like that. That was a prank you pull on the newbie.
I got sent into the auto parts store by my dad. I'm like 7 or 8, so I feel like it's justifiable for blinker fluid one day.
Yeah,
and that is stuck with me as like a damaging memory my whole life.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's somewhere in that department. That's phenomenal.
It is same parallel vein. Yeah, but you do it to a 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid.
Corey LaJoie joining us here on the Rob Brown Show, the stream-only edition. For those of you that are hanging out, welcome. Good to have you guys. We'll post it up on digital later. So let me ask you one more kind of in that vein. We've got guys on circuit, guys like Kyle Busch that are kind of known for being a little antagonistic. You get other guys that like Joey Logano, who I think can get into it a little bit, but like from the folks I've talked to that have met him in real life, say he's a super nice guy, pleasant to be around. The fights that happen on track, right? And I know when you're talking hundreds of $1,000s of equipment, and more importantly for you guys, like livelihood and paychecks, when guys are turning each other out, et cetera. When those fight, I mean, how long can those grudges go on? And do those fights get handled by NASCAR in the back? Or the last couple of years, because it's felt to me like the last couple of years, NASCAR kind of realizes that, just like in radio, conflict breeds conversation. Are they willing to let the smack talk and let stuff go to make it more interesting and appealing?
Yeah, NASCAR only really steps in when hands are thrown.
Okay.
But beyond that, if guys have some beef in between them, they don't interject. I mean, we're all grown men.
Sure.
And the way grown men handle things is on Twitter. I mean, if you want to really get to where it hurts, you got to subtweet them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we do it anymore.
I love it.
You know,
I love it.
really stick it to them.
I love that Corey's saying this, and it's like sounds like a joke. It's not. We all know the truth.
Yeah.
We all know it's real.
If you want to carry on some beef and really get to somebody, you subtweet them.
I love it. I freaking love it.
That'll show them.
I freaking love it. Corey LaJoy hanging out with us. So the when I look at a track like Charlotte, which I've been to 3 times, the Roval specifically, this track is so interesting and so unique. And we talked a little bit about this on air, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper into it for you guys, because it's not just you guys memorizing that turn 3 left, turn 3 right, turn 3 right, turn 3 back left, but teams have to set up the entire car to optimize it for those kind of tracks. So when NASCAR is adding more of these tracks and they're adding them in more frequently, and it becomes so much more team engaged, how important does that make it for you guys, for the teams? How much extra work, I guess, is the right way to put it? How much extra work goes into making sure that you guys are optimized for every racetrack, knowing how important the results every week matter?
Yeah. So regardless if it's been a track you've been to 10 times or the first time, the level of preparation is all the same. You spend probably 6 hours in a simulator every week. My engineers spend probably 12 to 16 hours on the simulation building a car. So how we're going to prepare for the Chicago street race is no different than how we're going to prepare for Daytona or Charlotte, because also with the new car, the downforce packages change, and you can't take the same setup you take to Daytona to Atlanta to Talladega. It's just a different way. Every track has unique bumps. Every track has unique grip levels. So you can never rest on your laurels, because things always change and people are always getting better. You're always progressing. And the setups are always changing, as well as what you think you know behind the wheel of how you drive. That always changes as well.
We have seen you guys go through over the past handful of years a few cars of tomorrow, and you talk about downforce and package alignments and all that. How challenging is it for you guys? Because I know you get some length of time to learn the new cars and put them through their paces and all that, but when NASCAR does an overhaul, and I agree with you, I think the new ones look cool. They're more stock looking. So if you drive a Camaro, hey, that guy's driving my car. What's the learning curve for a professional NASCAR driver when you have a big package overhaul from NASCAR like that? Because we've seen years where guys come out and gripe about it. We've seen years where guys really like the changes. What is the learning curve for a NASCAR driver when NASCAR throws a total car overhaul at you?
Oh man, that learning experience was huge. And I think just the guys who got there, whether it was rookies getting into the car last year, and it's going to be a bigger jump from the development series trucks or Xfinity to Cup than it's ever been, because now the tires are different. A lot of the guys, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, or Logano, these guys used to run the Xfinity race because it would help them on Sunday. Because the downforce levels and the tires were the same. Now the cars are completely different. The way the car drafts, the way the car drives, the tires, sidewalls are smaller. So the cars drive completely different. So you see guys not going and racing Xfinity as often and just concentrating on Sunday, because now the gains are so incremental that you don't want to try to acclimate to one tire on Saturday and then reacclimate yourself to another tire on Sunday. So the gap with this new car in particular was a pretty big jump.
You mentioned a second ago that you spend time in the simulator. I got for Christmas this year, and I know obviously completely different level, but I got my first I finally got it, Kevin. I got my wheel and pedal and shifter set up. I got big into iRacing, which I've just started with. I know it's been a thing for many years. When you guys are throwing down on the simulator, are you like popping on iRacing, racing with the fans, or like what is the simulator setup for you guys to get ready for a race like that?
Have you seen Cars 3?
I have not, and I feel like I'm being judged for that now.
Yeah, you are. So Lightning McQueen jumps like he wants to be on the simulator, and he locks in and it hooks to his tires, and it's this big, probably 180-degree TV screen with projectors, and you're on the track and it's turning you and you're banking. Like, that's what a real life simulator is. It's like a flight simulator where there's a cockpit of our car up on actuators and it's moving around in front of a screen, and we can plug the setup of the car we're racing into that, and we could tweak and feel it almost like we could in reality, even though you're not moving. So that it's definitely a really solid tool because now we don't get a lot of practice. So whatever you show up to the racetrack with of what you simulated is what you essentially are married to. So you have to put a lot of stock into your data set on the simulator, and it's a weird thing, man, but it's kind of fun. It'll definitely burn you out. Your corneas are tired by the end of the day, but the work you're putting in is worth it because you're just trying to find those small tweaks to make your car go faster.
So it's not my Xbox wheel on a breakfast serving platter in front of a 55-inch TV.
I've had iRacing, my iRacing set up, and I have popped in to race fans at a street stock race at Iowa. Like I would pop in there occasionally, but I get like bored. It would be like, I don't know. It'd be like,
because you're smoking chumps or because you just race for a living?
No, I'm not particularly good at iRacing. There's guys that are way better than me at it. Because I'm more of a seat of the pants feel guy. When you just visual cues and the noises and stuff or the sounds it gives you for feedback, it's hard to just reacclimate my brain as I'm used to driving this way for 28 years. And now I got to try to figure out how to, race in the metaverse. And I'm not particularly great at it.
Race in the metaverse. I have never gotten to ride in a stock car. Goal for me is to go do a petty experience and bust one out in Charlotte or Daytona or whatever. What is that? I mean, I know it's kind of probably hard to describe, especially when you've done it for this long, but what is the feel of driving a stock car full throttle at a Daytona or a Talladega? Like we have to ride 385, which I feel might be more dangerous than Daytona.
It probably is.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. But we're also not ripping at 205, 3 inches behind the Ford Explorer in front of us. Can you describe what the feeling of being in a wide open stock car is sitting on a 60-degree bank coming out at Daytona? What's that feeling like?
It's hard to even explain. The sensations of Daytona aren't the biggest ones. The sensations that are the ones that kind of make you a bit dizzy or where you feel like you're going fast are the places like Bristol where you're at a half mile with 35 degrees of banking. You can get turned around. You don't know you sometimes forget what corner you're on. Don't know where the start finish line is. Like you just get so locked in that it all just becomes, I don't know, like flow state. But like a place like Charlotte, for example, it's hard to explain driving a car that fast and you're not really in control of it. You're just kind of pointing it and letting the car work, letting the tires work, driving it to just underneath what their slip capability might be. Because if you overstep that line, you're going to be hitting the fence at 50 G's and your bells will be ringing for a week. You don't want that to happen. So you have to hold the wheel light. You kind of got to let the car go where it wants, but there's a lot of things you can do in there to make it do what you want too. So it's definitely a dance between man and machine. And I can't even put words to it, man. It's pretty fun.
So let me ask you one more about feeling in NASCAR. What is it like hitting that wall? Because I mean, obviously, you've never heard anybody come out and go, "That was great. I can't wait to do it next weekend." But I don't know, even on TV, when they give us the close-ups, you see the car and you see the car hit. But I know, obviously, you guys can only be so attached to the car. What goes into what is the feeling of an accident, especially at a high speed level?
I think we take for granted now. There's been so many crashes that since we lost somebody, since Dale Earnhardt was the last guy that's passed away on the racetrack. They used to kill somebody once, twice a year. The crashes are no different. They're probably harder now than they were. Just the advancements that NASCAR's made in the safety with head and neck restraints, seats, chassis. We're still hitting the wall as hard as guys have hit them and died. And we're walking out and you brush it off and you show up next week. It still doesn't feel good, but now a 45, 50 G hit, you're able to sustain, and because you're contained, the headrest is containing your head from whipping. There's a lot of other things that are involved with energy dissipation in the cars, but it doesn't feel good. I mean, it feels like you got in a car crash.
Yeah.
Just you have helmets on, you have all the things to protect you, but hitting a wall at 185 miles an hour is like not my idea of a good time.
Corey LaJoie, NASCAR driver for Spire Motorsports, is joining us here on the Rob Brown Show, internet-only edition. We'll be posting this again digitally later. The Greenville Swamp Rabbits tomorrow evening at the Well, 7 p.m. It is NASCAR night. They will be having a party out there. Gates will open at 6. Corey's going to be there. A handful of other drivers from Spire will be as well. They're going to have the simulator up there. Corey has already told folks, come out and challenge his times. Do you have a time at every track? Like, is there one every track we can run on?
We'll see how it plays out. I mean, me and you, buddy, head to head. Bring it.
Damn, we're just going to go play video games tomorrow. I like it. I don't hate it. Sounds great to me. Corey LaJoy joining us here on the show. A couple more before we let you go. We talked a little bit about this on air, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into it. I love the Clash at the Coliseum. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I think putting it in the Coliseum as a college football event, especially last year, the first year, there was so much talk about it. And you saw it being pimped on college football games at the end of the college football season 2.5 months before this event even took place. And we got people, and even on this show, I got people who were going, I don't watch NASCAR, but I kind of want to see, I just want to see what it looks like in this place. We've watched USC football for, if you're a football fan, your whole life, to see it transform into a NASCAR race. And because of how unique a property, how short it is, how collapsed it is, how steep those turns are, these types of things, I think, go great. And we've mentioned Chicago a couple of times with the race there. I think there's either one on or Vegas is being considered for a street race down the road. I saw a promo video not too long ago. Some of the stock cars driving down the strip in Vegas. And those things for NASCAR, as a NASCAR fan, who wins Kevin's NASCAR Fantasy League for him every year, never sees a cut. As a NASCAR fan who wants to see the sport grow, how much of it is on the sport to make that happen? And how much of it is it on you guys as ambassadors and the athletes that are out there to do events like what we're doing tomorrow night in Greenville and have a guy come up to you and go, dude, I met Corey LaJoy. He's a badass. And now I'm going to watch him race in a couple weeks.
I heard a great quote from Kyle Petty in a NASCAR meeting this week. Somebody was talking about, man, we got to tell stories about the pit crews more, or this and that. And Kyle Petty says, no offense, but nobody shows up to a Carolina Panthers game to watch the extra point kicker.
Poor Eddie Pinero.
Right.
No respect.
No respect. But I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, they show up to see their guy. They show up to see Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, like Corey LaJoy even. I mean, they show up to see their guys. So I think it's on the drivers more to put themselves out there to talk about how great the sport is and show your personality and show who they're rooting for, as opposed to just the number on a car that's driving around in circles. You got to put your face out there and sell yourself, sell the sport, and sell your partners. Obviously, the league can help that and help push that along and keep developing those personalities. But at the end of the day, you've got to put yourself out there and get uncomfortable and I don't know, let people hear from you. Let people know what you like, what you dislike. Get on some skates and skate around the Swamp Rabbits like I did today, man. It's you got to keep grinding, keep having some fun.
It's interesting. I've seen, I watch Speed Channel every now and then, especially during race weeks to see the lead up. And it all, like, a lot of these pit guys impress me. You see like former college football players, American Gladiators, and all these guys that get out there and wing these tires around like they're nothing. And they're all insane athletes that I think that's interesting. You want respect for these guys and these gals because they bust their ass to be great pit crew members. But at the same time, you're exactly right. I wear a Kyle Busch shirt to the stadium, mainly to antagonize the other NASCAR fans around me because those rivalries are great. But I find it very interesting, like football. We talk about Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nobody can tell me who the starting linebacker is for the Buccaneers. Everybody knows who the hell Brady and his wide receivers are, right? So I think that push has been very, very interesting. With that NFL conversation having been had, you told me you wanted Steve Wilkes as the head coach of the Panthers. We ended up with Frank Reich, the former Indianapolis Colts head man. You're a Panthers guy from Charlotte. Talk to me. Where do you think the franchise stands right now?
I mean, I don't hate the choice. I like you mentioned, I'd rather Wilkes. I thought he won the locker room, and I thought he did a good job towards the end of the season. But it's been a while since we've had an offensive-minded head coach there. I'm love to see Rule go on to Nebraska. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. I mean, we were some bums when he was in town. We got a long way to go, though. I mean, we got a long way to go. We don't know who our starting quarterback's going to be. We don't know a whole lot about nothing. But our defense played strong at the end of the year, and we had a chance to win the division, which is crazy enough. So I don't know whether they're stacking up next year. Hopefully they have a solid draft and solid free agency, and we can hit the ground running next year.
All right, listen, I'm a don't tell anybody. I'm a Saints fan. I grew up in New Orleans. The Carolina Panthers were in contention for the division because the division was trash. We all know that.
They still were in contention.
They still were in contention. I'm not disagreeing. So my argument for Wilkes was exactly yours. I think step one of being a great NFL head coach, and I think this is step one of being a coach or a pit chief or anybody who's in charge of a team, is having a great foundation that people want to buy in. And I think Steve Wilkes did that. But Frank Reich did that in Indianapolis too. Like when he got let go by the Colts, and what I think was a Jim Irsay ego move more than it was a smart football move, we saw Colts players straight up being like, this we don't like this. Like, we don't want this. We love Coach Reich. Was it a couple of years ago? He had his cancer scare and had to step away for a little while. And you saw guys rally about that as well. He has done the same thing, but was a quarterback developer while he was there. And, my argument for the Panthers has been, I really think, especially if Brady leaves Tampa, which I think he is, New Orleans is a dumpster fire of a program right now. And until Atlanta ever does anything, they'll just always be Atlanta. Sorry, Kev, for as long as they're Atlanta. Carolina is set up to be the team that takes over this division next year. But we have been waiting for probably probably the last 2 or 3 years, Rivera's stint too, for a quarterback head coach combination that works. So I think because of that, getting an offensive head coach was the right call. Now we just got to go find the guy to plug in under center who kind of helps spark that.
And maybe Matt Corral's the guy. Been waiting in the weeds. He had that lip fracture. I like him. He's a gunslinger.
I did too. Time at a town down in Mississippi was phenomenal. He did remind me of a very, and I know people are going to freak out, a very young Brett Favre. Just is willing to whip it. Right? Like, give me that. I want a quarterback with stones who's going to throw the damn football.
Yeah.
Like, let's make something happen. We got the wide receivers to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, Baker Mayfield I was pumped up for him to get there, and I just don't think it was the right system. I don't think anybody could have been successful in the system that we had under Rule. So it didn't matter if we had Pat Mahomes.
I think that got proved when Mayfield went to LA and Sean McVay immediately started picking up wins for the first time all year. Like, it just is what it is.
It's about the people around you and the system you're in, man. It can make you or break you.
Greenville Swamp Rabbits tomorrow night. It is NASCAR night. Spire Motorsports driver Corey LaJoy is here with us in studio. He will be there tomorrow, along with a handful of other Spire drivers. They're going to have the NASCAR simulator patio party as well, and the in-arena host is super good looking. I'm just saying, come hang out with us, and don't forget at 2 o'clock earlier in the day, a ticket will get you into both games. South Carolina versus Clemson in a Palmetto Bowl on ice at the Well. Hang out after that game. Stick around for the Swamp Rabbits game. It's going to be a blast. And you will not see Corey skate because we tried that already. Was that enough, or you got a little itch now?
I got a little itch.
Do you really?
I got a little itch. Yeah. Maybe they'll let me go back tonight and, try again.
I got to tell you, man.
Smack it around a bit.
I like it. Got a little aggression in this guy. I dig it. Where can you said you got a podcast earlier? Pimp that for the people.
Yep. Stacking Pennies is on NASCAR.com or wherever you find your podcasts, and then social media. I got it all. Got the TikToks and the Jake Jacks and the Instagrams.
Big Jake Jack guy.
Yeah, big Jake Jack guy. What is it? LinkedIn's or whatever.
He's promoting his LinkedIn. My goodness.
You never know.
I love it.
The streets are hot, man.
What's the Twitter handle?
At Corey LaJoy.
Mine's the Rob Brown Show. It's all about creativity, man. It's all about creativity.
Or just originality.
That's it. Corey LaJoy, appreciate you coming by, big dog. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me. See you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Meet Corey LaJoy and the rest of the Spire Motorsports crew tomorrow evening. The Greenville Swamp Rabbits host NASCAR night, 7 p.m. Come out for the college game at 2. Stick around for that. We'll see you guys there. For everybody else, thanks for watching. We'll see you back here Monday on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Goodbye.